Anyway, we got people watching. That's the important
We
thing.
have. It is.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I
So thank
thought,
you. Oh,
no, no,
sorry,
go on, go
sorry.
on. No, no,
I
you
was
go
just
on
going to
first.
say thank you for inviting me on. Honestly, love it. So
No, of
very excited
course.
for
Like,
this. Yeah,
look,
yeah.
we haven't spoken in person ever. It's always been a voice
No.
memo. It's always been DMs. Always very
Mm,
disjointed things because I ramble quite a lot. So yeah,
same.
we both ramble.
Yeah,
So I thought with this, because hopefully we can do a few more of these every now and then, apart from me
yeah.
doing the podcast, I thought we'd let everyone know what our favorite things were with horror.
Go for it. Yes.
So I decided to have a list just to ask what your favorite is of a particular subgenre of horror because you can't say what's your favorite scary movie.
Oh
It's
God,
too
yeah,
vague. And I'll be like,
yeah.
well, I can tell you this one and this one and this one. I can't say one off. So I'm going to start with the best one, probably what I'm more known for. What's your favorite vampire horror movie?
Yes, I know. I when I saw this question, I was like, I don't want to upset you, but I unfortunately it's not Lost Boys. I know. I do
Ending the
like
line.
Lost Boys. I know. I know. Well, I wanted to start strong, so
Yeah.
you know me. So I like Lost Boys, but I'm more of a Dracula guy. Bram Stoker's Dracula. That was me at the right age with the right kind of film. But yeah,
It it's a very, very true tone, if you know what I mean. Like it's very true
mm,
to what Bram Stoker was trying to do with the novel. So I could actually really understand that. It's such I don't know, it's very different from any other Dracula adaptations I've seen, and probably the truest as well.
yeah, yeah.
So I can understand with
I
that.
think it's yeah, because Coppola was really trying to make it very old school, lot of practical effects. There was a funny story I saw that he fired a visual effects guy because he was like, well, we can only do this digitally. So he fired him. I think they had another one come in, said we're going to do it digitally, fired him, and literally just hired his son Roman, who now works with Wes Anderson quite a bit. Literally, that's his son was the visual effects guy.
You've researched this more than I have. I feel really unprepared tonight.
Uh,
But
no. This is the thing. It's like I've spent like my twenties was me researching film. So anytime there's like a DVD with great extra features, like that's where a lot of my knowledge comes from. It is
yeah.
recycling a lot of things you know you always pick up, but I've never claimed to be like a specialist in film and um I tend because this is I'm loving this because I tend to get the moniker of you know especially in my group of people that I know is you're the film guru. It's like no. There are more people knowledgeable and I love listening to them like yourself. You love horror and some of the stuff you've said and things like that. It's fantastic.
Some people kind of refer to me sometimes as a bit of a walking IMDb.
Yeah.
Like there are times where I've had a friend just go, Michelle, what's that movie where Woody Harrelson wears a hat? And I was like, what, Zombieland? Yeah, Zombieland. And you're like, what? How was
Oh,
that correct? Kind of thing.
yeah. Yeah. Especially when you get them as vague as that. It's that guy in that movie. It's like, oh, can you give me a little bit
Oh,
more?
have you ever seen The Adventures of Lionel Woodley or heard of the comedians Lionel Woodley from here?
No.
They're kind of a family comedian thing, but they're absolutely hilarious. And in an episode of a TV show that had very briefly, they went to a video shop and Frank's speaking to the guy who owns it saying, do you have that film with that guy in it? And it's become a
Yeah,
running
yeah,
gag in my family for a very,
yeah.
very long time.
I remember you sent me the clip of that. You did send me the clip of that one. Yeah. I was just, yeah. It's. I think we've
Because
all
people say to
experienced
me,
that.
like, you know that movie with that guy? I'm like, oh yeah, that guy where he plays a cop in that other film? Yeah, I know him. I don't know. Ah, sorry, my notebook fell. So, what's your favorite ghost horror movie? What's your
Oh,
favorite ghost story?
see that one's a tricky one. I think it would have to be. Oh, see, this is the one where I should have done a bit more thinking. I think it would have to be the others or the orphanage. Um,
Good
I'll
pick.
go the others. I'll go the
Very
others.
good pick.
Yeah,
I the others I was actually thinking about this today when I'd written my question because obviously, granted, Lost Boys is for me, guys. I didn't actually mention that, but Lost
yeah,
Boys is my
yeah.
favorite
I was gonna
vampire.
say, yeah, I was gonna ask you. Yeah.
But yeah, the others I was thinking about that today, but also I was thinking about Sinister
Oh yeah,
because for me that movie is almost a perfect film,
yeah.
almost a perfect horror movie. Same with like Insidious. That one
Mm,
for me it had what I call the Jeepers Creepers moments. This is like the moment where I was thinking I was watching a Perfect 10 film and I was kind of like, maybe didn't need that little moment. Now the film's how old's the film? The film's 10 years old. I'm doing a bit of a spoiler. If people haven't seen it, they should have seen it anyway. But it's the moment where you see Patrick Wilson's character going to get his son Dalton, and the demon's there, kind of like sharpening his nails.
yeah.
I kind of felt like it was a Jeepers Creepers kind of moment because he's listening to Tiptoe to the Tulips, kind
Oh
of like
yeah,
the creeper listening to Jeepers Creepers. I was kind of like, oh, I don't really know about that. But other than that, I actually thought it was a perfect horror movie, perfect scary movie because that little boy in the corner
yeah,
petrified the crap out of me. I was so scared. And it's really hard to
yeah.
scare me sometimes. So that's an achievement. That was pretty good.
No, I mean
What?
that's still got one of the great jump scares with the lawnmower. Like I remember watching that film and it was just it came so far out of nowhere, but it never felt out of place. And that's where jump scares I find very tricky, because you just, it was like I remember watching Paranormal Activity 4 and all they could do was get cats and music stings. So it was like to have something that's well crafted and uh,
I think the biggest thing that really added to that kind of jump scare because
mm,
you were so on edge with the score they added to all the Super 8s.
mm,
It just put you on edge the entire time, regardless of which particular family you were watching on them. You were freaking out the entire time. So that's why I was probably too focused on that score. And when that hit me, I was like, nah, nah, turn it off, turn it off. That was probably the only movie I've ever watched where I was living at a house where my bedroom was upstairs, where I was thinking, I've got to outrun the demon that's going to be in the hallway because the light switch is here. And I'm going to have to run over there before it gets me in the dark. I felt like that with that particular movie. I was freaking out trying to get back to my room. Seriously, I
yeah,
was. I was kind of like, oh, I
yeah.
don't know. Or just run. But yeah, I did make it in the
But
end, so obviously because I'm here.
but talking of that, like Insidious gave me one of my favorite moments is because I watched it really late at night and I had old plug-in earphones. Me and you are of the age where we had the old plug-ins, and I
Yes.
put it into my I put it into my TV, and I had these big cans on, and I was watching Insidious, and the sound mix was going around my ears, and I just had to keep stopping the film, looking around because I thought things were going. What I was like, what?
I was founding that.
You-
I remember years ago when I watched the Blair Witch Project on DVD. I thought that watching some of the behind the scenes featurettes, I feel like they'd
Mm,
added little extra bits to those featurettes, so you were still kind of freaking out while you were watching those. To the
yeah.
point I was like watching it in my parents' place. I was probably about like 11, and I'm hearing noises. I'm like, is my dad deliberately knock tapping on the door? Like, is he deliberately doing it? Because that's the thing
Yeah.
he would have done. But I've like
Yeah.
looked, I'm like, no one's there. I'm like, is it that? So I've actually rewound it and played it. I'm like, you've put these sounds in to freak me, you shifty. Good work. Like,
Yeah.
Jesus, it freaks you out. Oh no, it really freaks you out.
Yeah. Oh, so.
Well, sorry, go on. No, go on.
Oh no. You're right. I was agreeing with you. Yeah, like when you can get like those like extra feature bits and stuff. Yeah, you start going. "Oh, people playing tricks on me." Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny that you watch those little extra bits there and it makes me freak out. But if you listen to the commentary, it just ruins the entire mystique. Them going like, oh, the
Yeah.
noises and kids, like the tents. Oh, that's the kids my mum used to look after. We just recorded them
Oh,
playing in the front yard, and you're just like, oh, that's ruined it. Still freaks me out, but it ruined
yeah.
it a little bit for a second. So, what would be your favorite slasher film? Doesn't have to be a franchise one, can be a one off. What would
Okay.
be your favorite slasher?
Franchise. Hmm. I've thought about this, and I think for me it's got to be Hellraiser. Whilst I kind of grew up with Saw, and Saw was that kind of franchise like mid 2000s that I was getting really into. I followed all seven movies. Um, the last two for me, and what Lionsgate are trying to do, keep rebooting it, trying to keep expanding the legacy of it, has really destroyed that franchise for me. And even though Hellraiser has some awful installments, I I think for me it's the Clive Barker mythos, even around a lot of the straight to video sequels.
Yeah.
But for me, like one to four and the new remake are better than most horror movies I've seen. They just tap something into me where they can make pain and viscera so beautiful, and really kind of it's like watching that new Pinhead in Hellraiser. I just found they were so beautiful, like even though they've got like scarring and everything, and it was
Mhm.
just I just sat there, yeah, it was such a thingy. But you, what about you?
I'm gonna say my favorite slasher one. Yeah,
Oh,
it's tricky. It's a Wes Craven one, so I think you
yeah,
got an idea of probably two. Now, one of them I don't know if I could really call a slasher because it's really more of a horror sci-fi if you think of a Nightmare on Elm Street. And he
yeah,
actually kind of saw it as like a sci-fi fantasy. But I
mm,
think I might go for Scream.
yeah,
Yeah, because I remember we had it was like a master copy of the film we got from uh a friend of my dad's because he was running a video shop. This guy. So we're
yeah,
watching that. It's probably about 11. So obviously, I'm telling people I'm gonna watch Scream tonight. Everyone's like, you can't watch that. It's an MA movie. You gotta be 15. I'm like, no, I'm watching it. The opening scene with Drew Barrymore, that
mm,
was one of the best scenes in horror I've ever seen. It had
yeah,
me on edge. I hadn't been. Wes Craven has this thing where he's able to scare me, and sometimes it's really
mm,
hard for that to happen. Like I love him because he scared me with Freddy Krueger. When I was
yeah,
really little, my parents were watching it and walked in, wanted to watch a horror movie. My dad's like, you can't watch it, you'll get scared. And I'm like, no, no, it'll be fine. So he let me watch a little bit, pretty much to say, if you get scared, it's your own fault.
mm,
And I thought Freddy was funny. I thought he was great. He was having a laugh. He was having a good time. Till I realized what he was doing, and he was killing people, unaliving. Very
yeah,
limited in what what I can say on
yeah,
TikTok Live. But doing that in
yeah,
people's dreams, I freaked out. I couldn't watch him for like maybe 10 years. So my dad would be like, hey, Michelle, Freddy's on. No, leave the room. I couldn't do it.
yeah,
But yeah, Wes Craven managed to scare me again with that film. And obviously, completely different vibe from the other films. The other films
mm,
get a little bit more campy, they get a bit more fun. But the tone they had with that original Scream, fantastic. Brought back the slasher film. Absolutely love it.
yeah. And that's the thing. Like now I've got you here in person, I can start asking you questions. But like,
Yeah,
what for someone like myself who's not a big Wes Craven fan, what is it for you who do you really enjoy him? What is it with him that you find really kind of special and that connects with you?
I do find that there are just some films that Jeez, that's a good question. You put me on the spot. I was worried about putting you on the spot with
No,
questions.
no, 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 no. I was
Ah,
like,
you
I'm
got
not having it
prepared
all
with
my way.
questions.
Yep, pretty much.
But I don't know. It's like watching People Under the Stairs. Like it's not the greatest film. There's fun attached to it, and I feel like he really took advantage of the fun that you can have in horror.
Mm,
Because I don't know, like you can have like a cheesy horror movie and it works. You can't have a cheesy comedy, it doesn't work. You can't have a cheesy drama, it doesn't work. But
yeah,
the cheese or level of cheese he had in his stuff just worked perfectly.
yeah,
And I don't know, like there's cheese in A Nightmare on Elm Street, but there's just something about the world he created. It's just like you can run from every other slasher, but you can't run from Freddy. Your mind will make you face him
yeah,
regardless of when you want to. And I don't know, he was yeah, especially with like Nightmare on Elm Street. He just you've never seen a villain that you could see the joy on his face. Granted,
Yeah.
it's distorted, but you can see how much Freddy enjoys doing what he does. And I think, well, my love really started with that whole franchise, but I don't know. I really can't think of a time he's really faltered, and he has tried different things. Like he went from doing no help producing the remakes for The Hills Have Eyes, and then doing like Red
Mm,
Eye, which is completely different genres, but they still work so well.
yeah.
So I just thought he was just a kind of a good all rounder with thrillers and horror in general.
Yeah. No, no, no. That's what I mean. Because it
Yeah,
sounds like it's like the rules of the universe, especially like how you were talking about Nightmare. That's right. I'm not trying to hijack your show, but it
no,
was just like, yeah, like
sure.
it was because of the conversation. Yeah, it sounds like the rules. And don't get me wrong, I love that original Nightmare on Elm Street. I've recently gone back and rewatched all of them, and I think that's the thing is he sets so many ground rules, and like you say, with that character, his fun in just being an absolute menace to these kids is just, like you say, the gleefulness. Yeah, it's oh,
Yeah, because
classic.
when it comes to like Michael Myers, especially in the first one, when he's like, unaliving a lady, he gets very heavy in the breath, and it's like you can tell he's kind of enjoying it more than most people will probably enjoy it. But there was something about just seeing the joy on Freddy's face because he knows you can't stop me. I'm fear. You can't make people stop
Yeah,
me. They tried doing with Freddy versus Jason, tried to erase him. Still didn't happen. Still didn't work in the end. But just something about the whole Elm Street mythology, I just can't get enough of. Robert Englund was actually going to be here in Melbourne a few years ago. He was going to be at the Astor. I think I've showed you a photo of the Astor. Beautiful one-screen Art Deco theatre. He cancelled. And I'm like, I don't think he's going to be making many trips to Australia again.
mm,
And I'm so gutted that I didn't have the opportunity. Hopefully, if I go to America another time, I get to see him. But
yeah.
I think I've lost my opportunity to see him. I bought a book for him to
No.
sign and everything. Like, I was so gutted about this.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah,
Oh,
life happens. What can we do?
well, yeah. Hopefully one day at least, or you get
Hopefully.
to, yeah. That'll
But
be
I,
a
I have a
big one.
feeling when I have a feeling when the news happens that we lose him, it's going to hit me hard. I remember when Wes Craven passed.
Mm,
Someone I was seeing at the time messaged me, and he's gone, "Oh, Wes Craven passed," and then there was a little pause, and there was no emoji, no lol. It was like, "Are you okay?" Because I was kind of like,
mm,
"Oh my god!" It was like a relative died, so
yeah,
it's going to be a tough one, I can tell.
yeah.
So, what would be now? I wrote classic horror. I'd say, what's your favorite like black and white horror film?
Oh, I think I think it's got to be the Raven from the Universal
Ooh,
classics. Yeah. So I remember growing up, and I the amount of hours I've tried to spend finding this video, this advert. So there was, I think it was in front of the Brendan Fraser Mummy. So on the UK VHS, they had a Universal Monster Legacy trailer, and I mean this thing was beautiful. The music, the shots, and I always remembered there was a car falling off a cliff. Oh, you all right? Oh, all right.
yeah, I'm good.
I thought
Yeah,
you'd just
yeah,
gone for a minute. Yeah. So there was a car kind of swerving on the road, and it kind of tumbles. Um,
yeah,
I'm trying to be careful with wording, but yeah,
yeah. It was great.
it's yeah. Um, and I could never find that in any of the classic Universal monster movies. I was like, well, what's going on? And then recently we've had a Bela Lugosi set. So it was Murder at the Rue Morgue. Um, oh God, Black Cat and Raven. And I bought it. I was like, I remembered them two, Black Cat and Raven, especially being part of that kind of legacy collection. So I was
Mhm.
like, right, I need to see these. And I love Rue Morgue. I thought Black Cat was okay because it was more Karloff was the kind of menace, and
Yeah,
then in Raven it's Bela Lugosi, and Bela Lugosi in that film, like genuinely, like he is top tier in that film, like chewing scenery, and it was so great to kind of then see Boris, who has a little bit more kind of range, play more subdued character, and it was just brilliant. Like he was broken and stuff, and it was just how he was acting. Oh, it's incredible. Like I love that film so much. But yes, what's yours?
That's a very long time ago I saw that. So I think I actually have this box set that you're referring to. Is it like a gothic horror one, like an orange box set?
No, no. So if I'm not mistaken, Universal released about like 30 movies, and they were pushing them at the time of the Brendan Fraser thing, and it came with like a 90-minute documentary about the Universal legacy, or 2 hour documentary. And they had busts of the Wolfman, Dracula, and Frankenstein's creature.
My brother got this
So
set. Yeah, I know what you're talking about now.
gotcha, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it was that, but they were promoting them releasing these movies basically, and yeah, as I say, like there is a version of that out there, but I always remembered it with images of the Raven and Black Cat, but I could never seem to find it, so unless it was me making it up, but
I don't know. But then again, it could just be a version that maybe just the UK got. There is a lot of versions that you
could
guys
be.
would get that we wouldn't. Same because we have well, apart from Umbrella, which I'm guessing you bought some stuff from Umbrella Entertainment with us. There's also oh my god, what's their name?
Monster
Hold on.
Pictures,
Which one? Sorry.
not Monster,
No, not Monster.
Monster
I know the
Pictures.
boys from Monster. It wasn't Monster. It was something. I've actually got. Do I have any of their films nearby? Yeah, it's I can't read them from here. I can just see the titles. I can't see where the distributor was. But I don't know. There was this company that have done a lot of like remastered Fire in the Sky. They've remastered um
Imprint.
Imprint. Yes,
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 there we go.
Imprint's the one. Yes, because they put Haunted on Blu-ray, the James Herbert one adaptation, and I with Kate Beckinsale, and I loved it.
Yeah.
Yes, Imprint is the one. Yes. Alrighty. So for me, my favorite classic
Hello.
would
Yeah.
be House on Haunted Hill, the original Vincent Price 1950s movie. Absolutely brilliant. I remember watching the remake. Like, obviously, I watched that first because I don't know. I never had a problem with black and white films, but I watched that one first. And I don't know, it watching the original after kind of made me more impressed with the original just because it kind of didn't need the remake. It's a fun remake. Like,
Yeah.
I do enjoy remakes that Dark Castle did, but
Yeah.
it was perfect as the way it was. It didn't need to have ghosts. It didn't need to have blood and gore. It just worked perfect the way it was. It's just a
Yeah.
beautiful little black and white film, and Vincent Price is just amazing because in everything he
Oh,
does, his performance is just like effortless. He's a what word can I say that's not going to get me on TikTok live? Butthole. I don't know. Can I say that? You
yeah.
just
I
play
think
so
so.
unbelievable well. There you go. If if the screen goes blank, then that's the TikTok god saying stop. I have
Yeah.
no idea.
We're,
But
we're
yeah,
we're on here
definitely
till
happens.
they start. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but the original Haunting is actually quite good as well. I wasn't a fan of the
Yeah.
remake, but the original Haunting is
Mm,
that one got me as well. So that was
mm.
pretty impressive for it to do that.
That's yeah. That's definitely one I need to go back to because yeah, the remake just it's that kind of early 2000s kind of approach into it. It's that, they took all these old IPs and just tried to, gloss them up, and it's like they work,
Yeah, like
just because they're black and white.
yeah, I don't understand the glossing it up. Like it's what they did with like the remake. My God, my stutter. The remake of Psycho, how they made everything bright and Technicolor, and you're like,
Oh, yeah,
but if you are doing this shot for shot, but just making it all in color, you've just proved the film was perfect the way it was.
yeah,
And
and
I
and
don't
and,
know, there was something
and
about it I hated.
that is something that I genuinely just found so interesting because Gus Van Sant had just come off of Good Will Hunting, and he could do anything in Hollywood. and the first thing he said is, "I want to remake Psycho shot for shot." And he did it as an experiment. And Michael Haneke has done it as well with Funny Games, and they did it as a complete experiment to say, can you actually remake a film? And you look at like how the Hitchcock Psycho and obviously Gus Van Sant's one is, obviously you've got practically the same, it was exact same script and everything. And I think even the editor was talking about like how they were timing shots to be exactly like that, exactly the same, and they said they couldn't do it because of how the performances were different, and obviously things like that. But it's a weird experiment, and I love that Psycho, the remake of Psycho, but as the experiment it is not as, it's nowhere near as good as the original. Yeah, no, 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 I'm controversial, but
No, because it was
I'm not going there. Like it's a strange film, but that's why I like it, and that's where a lot of my taste comes in, like things like that, where it doesn't gel, but I'm
yeah,
fascinated in thinking, right, how could it work, or what did they miss, if you get me?
yeah, because like I didn't completely mind Vince Vaughn's portrayal of Norman.
No.
But the moment when he's looking through the looking through the wall, and they added a noise in when he's watching, was completely unnecessary. It just added like a level of gross that we just didn't need. I don't need to be hearing that. You know what I mean?
No.
No one needs to be hearing that. But yeah, but it's probably probably the lowest of the Norman Bates portrayals that I've seen, because I've seen some pretty good ones, especially if you've ever seen like the sequels to Psycho, which are actually surprisingly great.
Yeah,
Henry Thomas does a pretty good one.
yeah, because he's young, Norman Bates in four, isn't he? So
He is, yeah.
yeah, and
But
and you
yeah,
think like a film with that kind of legacy shouldn't have sequels, yet the sequels aren't that bad, like
mm,
two is a legacy sequel, like they made it like 30 years after. And the
yeah,
fact it's as good as that, it's as good or just below the original. It's like, okay, cool, right. It's a different kind of film, but it's quality. And then,
yeah,
part three was one that I didn't quite jive with, but then obviously part four I'm all right with, but like they're not terrible. And it's like, just to quickly diverge, because I've got a platform now. It's like
yeah.
Alien, yeah, Alien 1 to 4. Like,
Hmm.
I know 3 and 4 get so much hate, but like you look at like even the extended cut of 3, and even like 4 theatrical or extended, however you want to watch them, they're not that bad. Like, as the quality is still there, the production levels are still quite high, the stories take weird turns, fair play, but
Yeah,
like it's consistent as a franchise, and it's like, how do they? I don't know. Like, yeah, like that's the rarity when you see so many other franchises dip off after number one, or whatever.
because
So,
yeah, number four of Psycho was like a made for TV one as well. So to see it still had that kind of quality to it. And Danny Boy from the Creepy Cat podcast is watching. So hey, Danny,
oh,
I've
oh,
actually asked him to be on the podcast when I actually start doing it. So it'd be good to have him on.
well, hey,
Um, yeah. So apart from those, I understand. My God, I understand what you mean about like the dipping of quality. Because if you watch
mm,
the first Candyman movie, superb
oh
movie.
yeah,
The first sequel, Farewell to the Flesh, actually pretty good. Number three really really dropped off.
yeah,
I'm sorry. As much as I love Candyman, Candyman is my second favorite villain. Like, he is just up
yeah,
there for me.
yeah,
And oddly enough, he's very similar to Freddy because he doesn't really exist. He exists in fear. But then obviously with the
yeah,
remake, he's kind of like he's a spirit essentially. Um,
mm,
the new one was fantastic, but yeah, it really dipped off for number three, which is a real shame because Candyman, that mythology is fantastic as well.
oh
And now that
yeah.
I've mentioned that, I've already mentioned mine. Who's your favorite villain?
Ah, there we go. Perfect segue. Oh my God. See,
I know.
we're getting the knack of this now. We're getting the knack of this now. Um, So many. Like I love Pinhead. As many people know who follow me, like again going into that kind of just Clive Barker's imagination. I like Mahogany from Midnight Meat Train. Um, I think that, even though I'm not a big Scream guy, I think Ghostface is a great idea, and I love
Yeah,
the fact that the franchise keeps replacing Ghostface. Like that for me is great, and
he's an
that's what gives
entity,
that
not a
franchise a
person. He's an
yeah,
entity, not a person. Yeah.
yeah. But the one I think I'm gonna have to go with is Jason from the Friday the 13th series. And this is me just getting a little bit personal here, where it's like when I first kind of got into those kind of horror movies, I watched Friday, Halloween, and I was young and I didn't get it. I didn't find it quite scary, and I've come to appreciate that first Halloween as a technical marvel, and I've actually come to really enjoy that through other films in the franchise. Nightmare on Elm Street, I don't connect well with Freddy. I think it's because he talks so much, and I love Chucky. I think Chucky's a fun kind of
He is.
character, but Jason always hit me because I was always the outsider, and
Right there.
oh well, hey, there he is. He's watching over us, and Jason for me was always the outsider, and it was that kind of family unit that had been destroyed. And obviously we know the mother was the killer in the first film, but Jason as a character for me is that kind of um I love that character, and even though he doesn't talk, the kind of Friday the 13th films just hit me in a way that very few other franchises do. So it's that kind of personal connection that we have.
So obviously, Freddy for me, the whole Nightmare
Yeah,
on Elm Street franchise, I absolutely love. I love
yeah.
just the extending out his mythology as they went from it being like his
Mm,
mother was a nun, and then he was the son of a thousand maniacs, and just seeing him, especially in like Freddy's Dead, seeing his more backstory there that he actually had a wife and had a daughter. But yeah, Candyman's next, really high up there. As I said, both
yeah.
very very similar. But there was something about Michael Myers I actually really quite liked as well.
Huh? Yeah.
And this is probably like going to feed into the problem as to why I really did not enjoy Rob Zombie's ones.
Okay.
You took one of the most menacing characters in horror and you gave him a reason to be the way he was. I always thought that the idea of Jason being not Jason, yours is Jason. I'm talking about Michael.
Yeah.
The idea of
Okay.
Michael being just born with something missing
Yeah.
was more terrifying than a motive. I didn't want to have
Mm,
a Michael Myers where it was like, oh, my sister was mean to me. They beat me up at school. My
mm,
mum's not happy and stuff like that. He just was. It was just the way he was. He was just evil.
yeah.
That's more scary than anything else.
So that's really good, because then I take it you're not a fan of Halloween, his Halloween 2.
No, I
Okay,
disliked.
yeah.
I can't say this. I did not enjoy it more.
Strongly. Yeah.
You can't say that H word because it can get you stopped.
Ah, right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
But
gonna have,
it's
I'm gonna have to make up like a lingo sheet for us both so we know what to say.
yeah, I think so. I think so.
Yeah.
It's but I get where you're coming from. It's that real psychological analysis of Michael.
Mm,
I I I went back and rewatched his Halloweens recently, and you know thanks to someone on here send me the Blu-rays, but it was one of those weird experiences where it's like I think he was onto something, but it didn't quite turn out right, if you get me, or it's something I can't connect to. And
yeah.
I find that with Rob Zombie quite a lot. Like he's got some really cool, interesting ideas, but yeah, and then especially once you get past those movies, obviously the 70s aesthetic becomes his big mainstay.
Hmm.
But yeah, just yeah, it's a strange one.
I think it was about just replacing the suspense and the tension from that movie and just replacing it with just
Mm,
red stuff and gore.
Yeah.
Can't say that B word.
Yeah. No, no,
But
no.
yeah,
You're
I
fine.
felt like it was just kind of like, okay, I don't want to have this tension. Let's just throw this at people. Like, it's just, I don't know, it didn't gel for me as well as it probably should have. And it's just because you gave him a reason when he never needed one.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I mean, the torturing rats. Oh, right. Yeah. So the rat sequence. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. When he's playing with his rats. Yeah. It's that kind of stuff. Then it just feels a bit cliche, if you get me. We've seen it before. Like,
It's the
you're not
Jeffrey
really
Dahmer
adding
kind of
anything
thing.
new.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're not really kind of different.
And controversial thing, I actually quite like Halloween 6. People bag
Ooh.
it out. I actually love it.
Yeah.
That was a movie that I rented with a friend for Halloween. I stayed at her house, and there was that moment where Michael's chasing after, it was Jamie, wasn't it? He was chasing after Jamie. She left the baby at the
Think
bus
so.
station.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's that hedge trimmer thing that she's, yeah. I remember watching that, and I'm like, can we turn it off? Can we turn it off? And we had to watch like a cartoon. I was probably like 7 or 8 at the time. Like, can we watch a cartoon instead? But yeah, no, I actually do quite enjoy that. Especially there's that moment in the park when that girl she's saying, "Oh, it's raining red," and Tommy's just like, "What? What are you talking about?" And I was like, "Wait, what is it? What is it?" I was freaking out, but no, I actually quite enjoyed it. I still haven't seen the director's cut though. I don't.
Ah. Yeah. Yeah.
I do have the box set for Halloween just behind me, but I don't think it's in there because
Ah. Okay.
the Rob Zombie ones is in there. Because this is the Shout Anchor Bay release of it, but I don't think the director's cut's in there.
Is it? Is that the Anchor Bay one? Or
Yeah, right there. Yeah,
yeah, that should be. Oh no, if it's the Scream Fact, I know the Scream Factory had it, and they have released it
I get Screen
separately.
Factory.
Uh,
Yeah, but because I did have them on DVD that I had while I waited for this, and I gave it to a friend, and I actually don't know if in those copies that I gave her if I gave her a
yeah,
director's cut because I'll be annoyed if I have. I'll be really annoyed if I
yeah.
have. So,
No.
what are your favorite kind of creature features? What's your favorite
Oh,
animal to have in a horror movie?
oh dear. Yeah, this is like creature features, monster movies are my jam. Simple as that. I would kind of say slashers and found footage are my least favorite subgenres. Um, Now, this is where I contradict myself, and I'm human, people. I'm sorry, but whilst I love the repetitive structure of Friday the 13th, I think my problem with slashers is that as an overall genre, it's incredibly repetitive. Like for me, that familial kind of thing, but I digress. But it's creature features, monster movies are my jam. I just love weird monsters, and my favorite monster is the werewolf. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. It does not get enough love, and I think it was me being traumatized one night. So over in the UK, we had channel 1 to 5 for the longest time, and then we had like kind of this thing called Freeview, which blew up, and now we've got like over 100 like free channels. And channel 5, without fail, for like I think it was about 4 months,
Hi,
would
Glenn.
play. Um, oh, what did they do? They played Kenneth Branagh's Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, and they played American Werewolf in London, and that movie just blew my mind apart. And it's that humanness about it. And as I've gotten older, I've really appreciated the kind of idea that, and especially seeing other subgenres of like horror films, especially ones we can't talk about. If you've seen
We'll
Revenge,
do a
you kind of
recording, we'll
get
do
the
a
gist.
podcast episode of it.
Yeah, yeah. It's like if you've seen Revenge, that kind of subgenre of film. And the idea that you can't control, your anger or your lustfulness or just your animal instincts, your baser instincts, and that you can go absolutely wild. but you're on a time crunch. It's going to happen no matter what. And I've
Yeah.
always found them way more interesting than like vampires, because the thing that irritates me the most with vampires. Yeah, I know. I'm self-censoring. I'm self-censoring. Ah, hey Sam. Hey Sam. Yeah, that's all right. Sam's just has said hi. Um,
Hi, Sam.
yeah, it was just yeah. Sorry guys. Yeah, I will thank everyone at the end, but yeah, it's
I can't see who's in here. I've only seen there's two people who have
yeah.
commented. I don't know if I can see who's in here. I don't know.
So
I
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't I don't know how to talk.
So it's all right. We've got Matthew, Dana, Ben, Sam, Rob. Hello, Rob. That's all right. Paul should be still here. I do
Sounds like a good
apologize,
crowd.
guys. Yeah, we yeah. It's. I wanted to thank everyone at the end, but yeah, with the um, yeah, with the kind of werewolves and stuff. The thing that I find a couple of things, which is vampires for me are always the upper class kind of the stand-in for the upper class, and I've never understood that, because if you've got a creature with that insatiable bloodlust all the time, 24 hours a day, they would be, like Underworld. I think
Yeah.
the roles would be reversed basically. And then werewolf movies now are just terrible. Like I was so excited. There was one that I saw a trailer for a while back called My Animal, and I've just recently kind of caught bits of it, and it's just another metaphor for teenage or young woman into burgeoning womanhood, which I think's great, but it's become a visual metaphor for that, where you're not really you're exploring the characters, but you're not exploring the impact of this disease onto that character. And again,
Yeah.
that's why I like American Werewolf in London, in the fact that you've had that month long dream, the dreams and how it really impacts their life.
Just
But
the way you
yourself,
said about this disease thing, it just reminds me of
yeah.
the short you did, Virus, and I was like, that's a vampire
Yes,
one.
yeah, it is a vampire one. Yes, yes, yeah. Um, I love vampires. In the sense that like you can tell stories, and it was one of those weird things where it was like I hadn't seen it in years. I hadn't seen it in years, and then I think people were asking to watch things and stuff. No, I do like Ginger Snaps, Ben. I do like Ginger Snaps. Um, but the thing for me is oh, this is a good one. Yeah. So sorry. Similar to the Wolf. Yeah, Wolf of Snow Hollow just doesn't interest me because spoilers. Basically, it's a murder mystery, and the whole
Yeah.
setup was that it was a werewolf, but it actually wasn't. Don't give me that. If you're going to use it, there was one really bad one. Sorry, there was one really bad one, and literally. So it's got oh God, what's his name? Oh, he was a big '90s guy, Brendan something, Brendan Mohr, Mohr. I think it's him. And he had these like daughters, and Thomas Jane comes to his house. He's like the sheriff. He's like robbing them, and the daughters
Oh,
are werewolves. Yeah, the daughters are werewolves, and they transform, but then they go back into like normal. Like they'll walk behind a bush, then you've got like the werewolf cam, and then
yeah.
they'll come back out like fully clothed, and you're just sitting there going, "Well, what is this?" You could have just taken that out and made like a normal kind of horror movie. It would have been fine, but
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, sorry.
Glenn on my side has actually mentioned the movie Outcast. I haven't seen it. Have you seen Outcast
Yes,
with
yeah, the one
James
with
Nesbitt?
James
Yeah.
Nesbitt. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's another one where it was like, yeah, it was basically like a British council estate, and oh God, I think it's Lena Headey and this character of her son. They're on the run, and it just be kind of, again, it's like thrust in last kind of minute. You get threads of it, but very faint threads, and it was just an analogy kind of. It's been a while since I've seen it. It just felt like it was an analogy for kind of like drug use and things like that. because especially
Uh,
it's the James, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's the James Nesbitt character who is a werewolf in that. Um, no, thanks, Ben. No, appreciate that, bud. And yeah, it's just nerves, man. It's like seeing Shell for the first time. It's like, oh my God. But no, it again, it kind of that falls back to where I just constantly have problems with the werewolf genre. Love Dog Soldiers, so please don't at me. But it's a siege movie, and then you've got female kind of burgeoning womanhood, and then you've got other things. There was one more. I think you kind of get like a character study like American Werewolf. But other than that, nobody's really pushed that subgenre at all. And whereas, it was like in the space of a couple of years, we had like When Animals Dream, Wildling. There was another one. There was like I Am Lisa or I Am Wolf, which is it got retitled over here. And then there's one on Shudder, Bloodthirsty, which is about a girl trying
yeah,
to reconnect with her past, and her dad's a music producer, and she finds out she's a werewolf. But the big thing for me is the transformations. Nobody bothers with the transformations and stuff, so it, it's disappointing as a fan. But then it's also kind of like, cool. I'm waiting for that next one that will hopefully hit. Um,
yeah.
yeah. But yours, sorry, I have gone off on one,
No,
but yeah,
what was
it's
mine?
all good.
So I, as much as I love vampires, I wouldn't put them in as creature features. I see creature features more as animals.
Mm, yeah.
I love me a shark movie. Especially
Oh yes.
love me a bad shark movie. I'm
Oh yeah.
petrified of sharks, so if I get to laugh at them, it makes me feel better. I love a bad shark movie. I love the movie Sand Sharks. Now I'm gonna butcher his name. Is it? He's from Stargate Atlantis. Is it Corin Nemec? He was in
I don't know.
oh my god, he was in a show called like no, I can't remember the show. All I know is he follows me on Instagram, and I've tagged him multiple times when I watched it. That I wouldn't be surprised if I did it again. He'd be like, "How many times are you going to watch this?"
Yeah.
I've watched it that many times. I love it. It's stupid. It's got Brooke Hogan in it. It's got sand. It's got sharks swimming in sand. Come on, what is not amazing about that? I think it's an Asylum movie. Asylum just go nuts with their
Yeah.
stuff.
Oh
It's
my God.
silly. I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But the big question is, are you going to see Tommy Wiseau's shark movie?
it is at Cinema Nova. I actually don't know. Maybe. I don't know if I'll see it there. I'll probably definitely watch it though. Like anything that's just a bad
Yeah.
shark movie, I'm all up for it. I watched on the other. I was going to watch Cruel Jaws the other day, but the app wasn't working that I was
Oh,
watching it on. I downloaded the Chilling app because they've got the Dorothy Stay Away from Oz short on it, and that's how no, that's how I watched Sharkula, the vampire shark. It's so
oh,
stupid, but I have to watch it. It's by the same people who did Shark Exorcist. And I remember
yeah.
during lockdowns years ago, I'd watch a movie with a friend of mine over Instagram video chat. And after that, he's like, "You're not going to be able, no, you can't pick the movie anymore." Because I picked that movie and it was fucking terrible.
Trust me. I've programmed films because
And
me and my
like,
brother, like, when I show him movies, and I genuinely, like, I get so excited, and then we watch the movie and he's just like, oh, we've just watched that. I was like, well, what did you think? He's like, it was great. He's like, no, I've wasted my life. I'm just like,
it
oh
was a
no,
waste of my
I
life.
can't. That's why, get us like in a cinema programming something. It would be amazing. But what
Oh,
was it? Didn't you send me the Shark House? Was it Shark House? I know
I
it
think
was
I've sent you a picture. Shark House is on Chilling app, so I need to watch that as well.
yeah. All
And
right,
then
okay.
there's
Because the like three-headed attack shark five-headed.
Yes,
There was
two-headed
loads.
shark attack. I've got that. That's
Right.
got as another Brooke Hogan one by Asylum. That one is hilarious. There's also six-headed shark attack. The sharks
Could
are
be.
walking on their own heads to get on land. I mean, how can you say? Actually, there's my shark movies right there, or most of them. The Last
Oh,
Shark, Jaws, Orca, Piranha. A lot of bad, a lot of bad shark movies. Oh yeah,
yeah. Oh, brilliant. No, I know
but
your
yeah.
love for shark movies because I've got like a free couple of apps and they've got loads of shark movies on, so I know what I'm doing. So I'm like, right, I've got to start watching these because of your recommendations.
Well, Glenn here also just mentioned he's also from the Good Movie Monday podcast. The shark exploitation doco on Shutter, which I haven't seen yet,
I've,
but I hear good
I,
things.
spot on. I was about. Thanks for reminding. Yeah, because I was going to say, have you seen that? It honestly, you are going to lose your mind. They cover the asylum period. Oh
Oh
my
no,
days. You are going to sit there with like a pen and paper, just going, oh, more to watch.
I was watching. It was I think it was on. It was free on iTunes something like years ago. It was called I think Monster Men. It was about a company that would make special effects stuff, and they were actually hired by Asylum to make the two-headed shark. But the original
Okay.
design that Asylum wanted was to actually have like the two heads on top of one another. And they're like, well, that's just stupid. If you have them next to each other, they can move better. And when they actually saw the design of it being separated, Asylum hated it. They absolutely hated the idea until they did like a demo reel for it, and they're like, oh, actually, it does work better.
Yeah.
I think the place was called
Oh,
Skoda. I think that the place that was doing it, but yeah, just to think it couldn't have worked. Two heads on top of each other. How's it gonna work?
oh my God. I love the asylum. Just the stories you hear from them, and obviously the movies. Yeah. Just.
It's to me, it's very much horror fans just having fun with everything, and
Mm,
that's what it should really be. What other genre can you have that kind of fun with? It's like when you're
yeah.
watching like the Masters of Horror series. Some of the stories didn't work, but it's the only genre where you can never take chances like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just yeah, like you said, that's perfect because you can have really dark stories like Jennifer, and then you've got that kind of slightly comedic Dear Woman with us. Oh
I was
yeah,
going to mention
just
V Woman because I was also
yeah,
thinking that won the V word, like the most universally hated episode, is when the boy becomes a vampire.
it must the horror.
Yeah, I think it was like season two.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
God, yeah, my
that
mind's
one is
blanking
like
on that one, but
universally panned. People hate it. And Imprint, the
yes,
that one I watched it once and I wanted to burn the tape that we recorded it on.
wow,
It was like backstreet unalivings of small things. I was just a bit too much for me. But I do have all the Masters of Horror, and that was the only DVD I saw that was singular. So I
yeah,
own it, but it's still wrapped, and I will not unwrap it
no.
because it's evil. I will never unwrap it seriously. So
So there you go. Sorry, that's actually a good segue to what. So you love your horror, but is that kind of your limit? Say something like Imprint, would you say?
I think it was probably like I've seen like the Hostel movies, but there's something about those where I don't know. There's it's such a filter kind of reality. You know it's
Mm,
fake, but I hadn't seen many films by Japanese directors, so
yeah,
it's a completely different level. Like I've been being told to watch like Turkish horror. Apparently, it's some of the extremest stuff you'll ever watch. But I hadn't seen anything from him before, so that was quite eye opening.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think for Takashi Miike, mine was Gozu, which I covered recently, and yeah, like when you watch that. And yeah, and then you get to kind of Sion Sono. He doesn't do horror so much, but yeah, there are things in that that kind of as a culture in Japan, I'm like, okay, it's like I've got to kind of put my own stuff aside to watch these kind of movies. But
Yeah.
no, I just yeah, you definitely seem more like the fun, bubbly horror.
Fun, bubbly horror.
Yeah.
So, speaking of fun, bubbly
Sorry.
horror, something silly, what would be your favorite guilty pleasure horror movie? Something that's just so bad you can't help but love it.
Oh yeah. Oh, see, yeah. For me, if it's even if it's that bad, I've got if I love it, I love it. Death Spar's one, but I think it's got to be Doom Asylum. Doom Asylum. Genuinely, as a movie, it's one of the like if you like my excitement and enjoyment away, and you watch it, it's probably one of the most inept movies I've ever seen as a just a film. But it's got so much charm, and these guys are working so hard to try and make a fun film, that it just seeps through. Um, oh God, it's got one of the Sex and City girls. Oh God, it's not Kim Cattrall or Cynthia Nixon. Is it Kristen Davis? I think her name is. It's got her in
Kristen
it.
Davis, yeah.
Yeah. And it's got her in like one of the very early roles, and it's just the way like the female characters talk to each other. It's so 80s. It's so bad, but it's brilliant. I think that's it. But what's yours?
I've got two. Now, I'm pretty sure I've told you about both of them, but one of them I think you're going to get because it's an Australian classic. I think it's about the same age as
Oh
me.
yeah, yeah, no, no,
Just got its Blu-ray release.
yeah,
Houseboat Horror, the
yeah,
Allendale classic. You'll never see it on his CV.
yeah,
So amazing. It is so stupid. There's something they do here in Melbourne every now and then called Cinema Fiasco, where we have two hosts who would play a bad movie and do their own commentary to it. I've been 3 times for Houseboat Horror, and each time they've actually had people from the movie in the crowd, and it just gets
yeah.
better and better each time. I mean, a woman,
Yeah.
she dies by getting a horseshoe to the face. Come on.
Like I can attest to that because I just remember there were days where you would just say, "Have you seen Houseboat Horror?" I was like, "No, no," and I just put aside some time. My God, that was a film. That was a film for definitely. It was definitely 90 minutes of something, and thank you for sharing that because honestly, it's oh God, you live for moments like that.
It's just so silly and so stupid, and I'm just like, I just can't get enough of it. Like when we had the second screening of it, we had the woman who had the horseshoe to the face. We had the person who rented out the houseboats, and we actually found out that no one got paid for the film because there's a speedboat that they sank and had to pay for the speedboat. So no one basically got paid in the end for
I was listening to something recently, and they were talking about like how big of a deal Houseboat Horror was, like the Blu-ray release was. Like it was a big deal for you guys because
it.
it's like
They
finally,
years ago, Jarrett, the guy, one of the people from Monster Pictures, who I met him, met Ben, great guys, did an April Fool's prank years ago saying we're getting a release. And I'm like, oh my God, oh my God. Then I realized, fuck, it's April 1st. No! Why? But no, when we got it, it comes with a pin that says banned in Queensland. I wear it on my lanyard at work, and people are like, what's banned in Queensland? I'll tell you what's banned in Queensland. Oh, it's
oh,
just such fun. But the other
yeah.
movie I absolutely love, Slaughter High.
Oh,
The
okay.
American film, I think it was filmed in England. It had like 3 or 4 directors. So silly. What was that? What is it? Seriously. There's only
Yeah.
like one hallway in the entire school. There's only one bathroom in the entire school. There's a bath in the school for some silly reason. Someone rigged up acid into the tap. Like what is that? It's so stupid, so silly. And I really think that Marty Ranson needs to be recognized a bit more as a good horror villain. The
Yeah.
little Jester
Uh,
mask. It's pretty sweet, but I love it so much. I've actually ages ago I was asking the hosts of Cinema Fiasco to actually show it, but I know that one of the
yeah.
hosts actually really loves it dearly, so I don't know if he's gonna kind of want to tarnish it for himself. Even though
Yeah.
they did Friday the 13th once, and I was like, what could you possibly have bad to say? Same with the Omen. I wasn't there for those ones. I was
Yeah.
probably gonna get angry if I did go.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
Bad
oh,
the Omen. My God. You can badmouth the new one. I don't care, but because that was just
yeah.
pointless. But yeah, don't badmouth the
Oh,
Gregory Peck's Omen.
you can badmouth Omen 4 to the cows come home. That, oh my God. I was gonna say I've seen some stuff that's proper level rubbish. But I just remembered another one because you've done two. Oh, Zombie 3. You reminded me about a film that's so bad it's good. It started its production directed by Lucio Fulci. He left. They then had to get oh God, I can't remember who, but oh my God. There is at one moment a flying head, and it is just, yeah, it just comes out of nowhere, and it is fantastic. I always try and get people to watch this movie because I sat there one day and I thought, oh, okay, cool, sequel to Zombie Flesh Eaters, let's go. And zombie, and yeah, I was like, this is going to be great. I'm excited, and I just went, what the fuck? What is this? Oh my God, this thing blew my mind, and I was like, is it bad if I think it's better than Zombie? I was like, it's just, and then the sequels just get worse from there. But yeah, it's a highlight for sure.
I'm not sure what film they used for it. I remember during COVID, I watched it was called Corona Zombies. I was like, it's gonna be some stupid little Tubi movie or something like that. It ended up being these two girls, which I'm pretty sure they've used before as the same characters. They wear like the same clothes, like they wear them in the shower. It's like obviously a gag for them, but they played like an Italian zombie movie like that, and they just redubbed everything with like stupid things to say. And I'm like, what the
Yeah.
hell am I watching? Is this supposed to be legit? But they took a legit horror movie and turned it into a comedy by making everyone just say stupid things. Corona
Yeah.
zombies.
Oh my. Oh, I think. Um.
I can't remember
Yeah.
what zombie movie it was though. Yeah.
No. Yeah. I tell you what. Some of those dubs as well. Honestly, I think, what was it? Yeah, like the English language dubs for these movies. I tell you what I think I watched about 3 or 4 Italian movies back to back one day, and I could literally start hearing the same guy. Like I knew exactly the same 3 or 4 people, and I was like, "Did
Yeah.
you guys just record this?" Hi, Dr. Lane. That's all right. And yeah, like you start to notice like this. They have like a very small team, and they probably did like 20 movies in a day. And oh, those
Have
English language dubs.
Have you ever heard of a movie called Suburban Sasquatch?
Yes, yes. It
I
recently
have
got
it.
re-released. How
Now,
was it?
oh, it's a Sasquatch that's just it's a gorilla suit with a big chest. Seriously, it's just and it just goes rawr, rawr, like that's the noise it makes. I don't know how that's supposed to be
Yeah,
intimidating. And if you look at the credits, it's obviously made by like one guy and like his entire family because everyone's got the same last name except for maybe like three people. And like
uh,
that director does probably about 20, 30 different things on it, and I'm just like, look, I admire the hustle, but oh my God, it's
yeah.
if you can get your
It's like,
hands on watch that, my God.
right, I will do because it sounds like a Neil Breen situation, and I need to watch a Neil Breen movie. I I've seen clips, and I'm like, right, that's next level bad movie. Yeah.
Well, speaking of movies that were funny unintentionally, what's your
Yeah.
favorite horror comedy?
Uh, See, with that, I love like the Peter Jackson stuff. But I've got to go Tucker and Dale. Tucker and Dale versus Evil,
What I was gonna
without
say.
a doubt. Yes, see, we're in sync now. You see what I mean? But they're
So there's
um
some.
so I um I so when I buy movies, I always like show my dad and stuff. I always say like, is there anything because he usually likes, oh, I've never heard of this or whatever. And I got Tucker and Dale, and I actually said, I think you might enjoy this. He's like, what is it? It's horror. Oh dear. He's old, bless him. But
Yeah.
so we sat down and we watched it. He's now got my old DVD, and he runs it like once a week. He loves that movie, and I do. It just the way it switches tropes and just gives you it's so fun. Yes, I'm getting quite a lot of Tucker and Dale love. Thank you guys. Yes, thank you.
It's just,
Oh,
I don't know, because I'm like, I remember trying to show my parents Shaun of the Dead, and maybe because they couldn't get most of the
mm,
references, like, we're coming to get you, Barbara, and stuff like that. But yes, Doghouse, Glenn, I love Doghouse. But
yeah.
have you seen Doghouse? The
Oh,
Danny Dyer one?
I've
Yeah,
got
same.
Doghouse. Yeah. Oh,
Right here, right here.
oh,
Next to Shaun of
beautiful.
the Dead.
Oh, and it's the UK DVD. Yes, thank you. Oh, beautiful.
But yeah, I'm pretty sure they just weren't getting most of the stuff that happened in it. And also, Shaun of the Dead does get pretty, like, I don't know, it gets a bit emotional a little bit in the pub. But Tucker
Yeah,
and Dale, it's just silly all the time. And yeah, it's violent, but I don't know, you can't get away with that sometimes. Like, it just works so well. It's like
yeah,
when he's like running around with a chainsaw, and all
yeah.
the teenage he's chasing him. We're trying to like chase the bees, and like he's like looking at all the teenagers, being like, "What are you here for?" kind of thing. Oh,
Oh,
it's so much fun. I love it.
yeah. I mean, they were talking about doing a sequel, and it's one film I would love a sequel, but at the same time, I'm like, how do you improve on perfection? You know,
Yeah, how do you
it's
do that?
yeah. I mean, it's tough. I mean, it would just be to bring those characters back, and I think that's why it's kind of not happening, or it hasn't progressed past talking about it.
Yeah, but like, yeah, you really just can't do any more than what it already had.
Yeah.
You can't have the same
I mean,
situation again. It was stupid unless you want to like
yeah,
poke fun at the fact it's the same thing happening again, but they're not really paying attention to it, or
yeah,
you know what I mean? I don't know.
yeah. And the fact I think it's Dale gets the girl at the end.
Yeah,
I was like, yeah, like that's so good.
I love it so much. It's so good. Okay,
Uh,
well, I'm pretty sure we pretty much already covered this one, but your favorite franchise overall? I'm guessing it's going to be the Hellraiser
oh yeah,
series.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it was yeah, I misheard the question earlier. Yeah, so like yeah, with yeah, slasher like yeah. I think Hellraiser is definitely my franchise, but yeah, going back to slasher because I've been so nervous about this, so it's been like yeah, oh no, not another thing. It's just it's cool. It's like first time going live, saying hello to everyone and everything. It's all new, but I did want to bring up one slasher film that I did enjoy. So this kind of answers questions, but in different orders. But Strangers Prey at Night, like. I'm not the biggest Strangers fan, the first film. I remember when I watched it, I was interested by it, but I wasn't loving it. And I liked the pulpy 80s kind of aesthetic of the second film, and I think they've done that. But then obviously they've got Rennie Harlan, who's already filmed an entire trilogy, and they're
Yeah,
already yeah, like they're waiting to release them. I'm like, okay, I'll give them a go, I guess.
because I really did like Pray by Night. Was it Pray by Night or
Pray at Night.
Pray at Night? It's like sitting right over here.
Yeah,
But the first movie, I feel like the trailer gave away the best scare it had. Is when Liv Tyler's standing in the lounge room and you just see
yeah,
one of the strangers walk.
yeah, yeah.
That actually, I was like, oh my god, this is going to be amazing. But I found, and obviously they were trying to replace the tension of having like an orchestra having a score with all the music they were playing on the record player. But I
Mm.
found that the tension, I was kind of like, can someone just unalive already? I'm kind of getting bored. Maybe I should
Yeah,
just
yeah.
give it a different try. Maybe I wasn't in the right mindset because I found that when I rewatched Orphan after the first time I saw it, I think it was more the person I watched it with wasn't enjoying it, so I wasn't enjoying it. I love it to
Uh,
bits. So maybe if you could give it another try, I could like it. But the fast pacedness of the
Mm,
second one I loved a lot more.
yeah, yeah, no, agreed. But yes,
Yeah.
what's your favorite franchise? Come on, come on.
Hmm. It's got a guy in a sweater.
Ah,
Lee Howard's artwork.
oh
Yeah, it's
my,
got to be
that's
Freddie.
brilliant.
It's always going to be Freddie. I've been to Nancy's house in Los Angeles, so I lost my mind when I saw it. I was walking down. It's in a little side street off Sunset Boulevard, and it's really weird seeing kind of like industrial kind of like commercial street. Then there's like residential, and I was like, "Where's his house?" And I saw the door. And I was like, "Oh, there it is." And I'm trying to take a photo of myself in front of the house, and people are driving past, going like, what's she doing? And I'm like, it's either you're thinking at me going like another tourist, or they don't know the significance of the house, which is shame on them.
Yeah,
But yeah, definitely Nightmare on Elm Street for me. It's always going to be that one because Freddy was the first villain to scare me as well. That's one of the reasons why I admired Wes Craven so much is because he finally managed to scare me after all the horror movies that came through the house. Freddy
yeah,
was the one who scared me. Yeah.
yeah. But
So
that
go on,
I was
go
gonna
on.
say no, that's all right. I got a question for you because it's like, would you want to see Nightmare rebooted? And if
I
so, who would you pick to direct it or star? Let's do some fan casting here.
think I really didn't care for the remake.
No.
I felt I felt like obviously Michael Bay producing these horror remakes was doing great with like Texas Chainsaw
Mm,
and Amityville Horror, but there was something about that I didn't like, and I didn't like that they kind of messed with his mythology. Now it was kind of an unspoken thing that maybe Freddy did something besides just unaliving kids,
yeah.
but it never needed to be said. But then they brought it up,
No.
and I was like, you just added a level of grossness to him, and it
Yeah.
actually made me a little bit angry. I've actually got a
Yeah.
friend in Canada who actually like left the cinema
Yeah. Yeah.
because he hated that
I-
what they did that to him. It didn't need to be done, and
if I could, yeah. Oh, sorry.
yeah, no, I'm like, just it's
Oh,
just it needed to be done, and the ending was so anticlimactic. It's just nah,
yeah.
not
Yeah.
wasn't for me. I do have it,
It
unfortunately, just to have more.
yeah. Well, that's how I looked at it, and I hadn't seen it for a while, and I remember watching it because I was excited because I enjoyed Friday the 13th, which had taken place prior. I still think that's one of the best remakes out there. I genuinely love what they did with that. But then, so I was excited for this one, and I've never been so angry in my life. It was a packed cinema, and I mean, we were all packed in. Every seat was full. I was so where the middle is, I was a bit back, but I would have had to have ran past people, and it's the Britishness in me. I couldn't like when that scene came up, the whole crowd just went, "What?" And we're all like looking at each other, go, "Oh, they haven't." And it's the fact that they kind of get you to a point where you go, "Oh, really?" And then they keep going with it. I was like, "Nah, that's yeah."
And to
Like you said,
try and have that little bit for a little bit to suggest that maybe, oh, he was actually innocent all along, and you're like, just I know it's like there's fan theory that goes with that, but I'm just like, just why did you have to
yeah,
do that? You didn't have to mention anything like that. There was already enough menace with him. You didn't need to add that.
mm,
It made me angry. Like I was sitting next to a
mm,
friend. I'm like, oh, you didn't. No, 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 no. And she's like, relax. I'm like, I can't relax. Like they're ruining my boy right now. But we brought them up. I'm getting good at segues. What's your favorite remake?
yeah.
Friday the 13th?
Ah, oh, oh. I can't. Even though it's one of my absolute favorites, it is. I would say top three for sure. I've got to give it to my boy Zach for Dawn of the Dead. Controversially, I love and I want to state this for the record, where it's like I love George Romero. I love his zombie movies, but Dawn of the Dead is my least favorite of his ones. I think he's trying to do something very interesting with the film. I just don't know what. And I
Yeah.
know with all the different kind of cuts and stuff, I think he's got a really great character drama, and it works to a certain point. And then I think he's got great social commentary, which I think that's the strongest part of the that and the gore, the obviously the unaliving of zombies. Um, I don't think for me as a whole it meshes well together. Whereas I like what Zach did, which is it's what remakes should do, is you take the core concept and you readapt it. You make it your own. And I know I've heard people complain that the kind of
But
a lot of the social commentary had gone and everything, and everything kind of like that had changed. But I was like, no, it's a great action, zombie film, and it gets to its point. It gives you some great post-apocalyptic kind of action at the beginning, some really great set pieces, and it's entertaining. And it doesn't try to be what George Romero can do or can be. It tries to be its own thing, and that's what I respect about it. But yourself?
Dawn of the Dead actually introduced me to Richard Cheese's music. He's doing
Oh,
his jazz
yeah,
version of Down with the Sickness. I love it so much.
yeah, yeah.
I
Have you
actually
heard?
really go
Oh, sorry.
go on.
I was going to say, have you heard his version of Closer from Nine Inch Nails?
Yes,
Yes.
I've actually
Gr-
got like
I,
I think
I
my friend of mine gave like a whole album of his stuff. It's so good.
oh, yeah.
But
Oh, it's fantastic.
I'd probably have to say the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That's really up there for me. The Jessica Biel one. Yeah.
Ooh. Okay. Okay.
I,
Okay.
I had seen the original, and I remember I think I watched it probably maybe a little too young, not to be scared, but to be kind of like, is this what everyone was scared about? I think when I'm I watched it when I was older, I could appreciate some things a bit more. And it's just really funny to think for a movie like that with that name and that reputation, there's like very very minimal red stuff in it. And if you listen to the
Yeah.
commentary for it, you actually have someone was saying that while Gunnar Hansen's got his chainsaw and is saying hello to Franklin, that Toby Hooper's next to him just flicking red stuff out of a cup onto his face. Is just imagine just doing that. It seems really funny. But yeah, no, there was it was
Yeah.
that was the most Australian thing I've said so far the year now. Um, it was picking up the hitchhiker and just where she took the gun out of. I was like, whoa, 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 what the hell's going on, kind of thing. But
Yeah.
it just got more and more intense. I actually, I'm not as precious with that series as I am with a lot of other ones. So
Yeah.
maybe I just didn't really, I don't know, maybe I just didn't really mind a lot of things that they did with it. Like I didn't mind that the idea that um, Leatherface wears a mask because he had a skin disease and people made fun of him. So he thought, I'll take your face, kind of thing. You're gonna make fun of mine.
Mm.
But no, that was genuinely creepy, and that's when I thought that we could get really good things to happen with the Nightmare on Elm Street remake. But I just
Yeah.
felt like this didn't happen. Because yeah, especially with
Yeah.
that, then straight into Amityville Horror, which I thought was great because I feel the original Amityville, it's very wordy because it's a very slow burn movie.
Yeah.
But we lost it with Nightmare on Elm Street. But yeah, definitely Texas Chainsaw Massacre is up there for me, and maybe even House on Haunted Hill as well, the first of
Yeah.
the Dark Castle Adventures.
Yeah.
It was weird. I actually really appreciated Jeffrey Rush's little homage he had to Vincent Price with trying to look like him and everything
Yeah.
like that. And just, no, I actually quite enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. And it still gets a viewing every October. So it will, any time of the year, I don't save it from October. But it definitely comes out. I don't know. October, it tends to be just one of the regular ones I watch. It happens
Yeah.
all the time. And the
No.
sequel, not too bad, to be honest. They actually go back to the same building. It actually looks pretty much identical. So they've done a pretty good job recreating the set.
Yeah. But no,
So,
I agree with you. I agree with you. I was gonna say I agree with you on Texas and House on Haunted Hill. Two great like remakes on that one. Yeah.
favorite horror director. I'm pretty much already answered mine.
Yeah. No, 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 you're fine. And I think this one's tough. Um, because again, I think a lot of like my favorite horror film ever isn't made by someone who makes horror movies. Um, So it's I just kind of that's right. I'm glancing over now, but I think it would have to be David Cronenberg. I think what he does with the body, and again that social kind of commentary about us as a society moving forward in our bodies. Like I recently watched that Crimes of the Future, his newest one, and it's superb. Like it's not really a horror movie, but it gets to kind of horror-ish elements, and it's fantastic. Like I and like Videodrome, Scanners, Brood, like what he talks about in those movies, just like it's my bag basically.
Yeah, Wes Craven. I was going to say I admired
Obviously,
him
yeah.
for having the ability to be able to scare me, and just
Mm,
some of his films, they're a little bit cheesy, but they're chances that he took, and I found for myself, I found a lot of them worked.
no,
And
it's all good.
just, you know, even with as I said, going into like different genres, going into thriller as opposed to just being purely horror, I find they all
Mm.
worked for me.
No,
Now, you're not going to like this question because this is one of your least favorite genres. What be
go
your
for it.
favorite found footage? Favorite found footage.
Ah, that's easy. That's Wreck. And
Rec.
I'd even stretch, yeah, I'd even
Which one?
stretch to
The
Wreck
original
2.
or all of the remake?
Oh, that we got that called Quarantine over here, so I don't know if that was
Oh,
thingy, but it's
Quarantine.
got
Yeah,
to be,
yeah.
I think
Oh God, yeah.
Rec 1. Yeah, Rec 1. I remember watching that just out of nowhere. Oh,
And I got the second one, and it was trash. It was on a
oh
plane.
no. Yeah,
Yeah, Quarantine to the terminal. Yeah, it was
yeah,
on a plane. It was a bit kind of trash.
yeah.
Sorry, guys.
No, you're all right. And yeah, I've got someone. Dane has just said Hell House, LLC, or Creep. So,
I was listening to a friend's podcast the other day, and they were actually talking about like the Blumhouse movies. And
mm,
yeah, Creep came in as one of them. I didn't even realize it was one of his. But
yeah,
yeah, Hell House LLC. A lot of people praise it. I didn't enjoy it as much as most people say it's made them. Like it's kind of okay. There is a bit of creep to it, but I don't know. Maybe I need to give it another watch because I think I ended up watching like two or three of them in like one night. Maybe I didn't need to do all that in one go. Maybe that's too much. But I'm probably for me the one that started it all, Blair Witch Project.
yeah,
I remember watching that. Now it was on free to air TV, so commercial breaks. When it came out, a friend of mine wagged school with another friend, and they went to an empty cinema and saw it. And they were like 13. That would have been terrifying. But I remember even with the commercial breaks, even on a little TV I had in my room, it still scared the hell out of me. And even with listening to the story at the start, he make the kid stand in the corner while he did what he did. And then you see Mike in the corner at the very end. I thought I was actually going to scream, like, ah! Like it was a lot for me to watch that. And I'm thinking, how
yeah,
old was I at the time? Probably like 12, 13 when I watched it. Yeah, so no, that's the one for me that always does it. Paranormal Activity ones, they're great, especially the first one.
yeah,
Um, I remember watching it with a friend, and then we went to a cinema with other friends, and there were certain moments we were kind of like, okay, I want to see how the audience reacts, and seeing like the wave of sighs that came through the audience in certain parts, like especially when like the sheet moves, or well, actually when she gets dragged out of the bed, everyone kind of laughed at that one. Half was scared, half thought it was hilarious. But
yeah,
when I first saw it, I was kind of like, what's going on? What's going on? I was freaking out a little bit. But yeah, I find I know that obviously they're cheap to make because you usually get no name actors because they're cheaper to have. I feel like just a lot of the ones that get made, they just don't have that level of suspense. I was watching a Japanese one, was it Japanese or Taiwanese? Called Asylum. That was a found footage one. That one was quite good. But there's a
yeah.
lot of found
Very
footage.
hit and miss.
And
Yeah,
now I can understand why you don't find it being one of your favourite ones.
yeah,
But Blair Witch got it right. Maybe because it was
yeah.
just like the benchmark for everyone, but
I,
That
I
was
think it came out at the right time as well. It had the right marketing strategy. It had
Hunger
everything
is really good.
kind of there. Yeah.
Because you got
Okay.
Megan is Missing. I haven't actually watched Megan is Missing. I've been trying to get my hands on it. That's a decent price. Lake Mungo, I haven't seen it. I've been wanting to.
No, yeah, me
I
too.
thought I thought it was going to be released on Shutter in Australia, but it's not. It's going to be on the American Shutter, which is it's an Australian movie. It's really annoying. And
Yeah.
there was a movie called The Tunnel, an Australian one as well, which I really quite enjoy. Have you seen that one?
No, I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, that one's a
No.
news crew goes in like these like tunnels underneath the city of Sydney, and yeah,
Ooh,
it's actually
okay.
really good. Yeah. Alrighty. What is a horror movie that you'd recommend to people if you're like, or maybe not necessarily introducing them to horror, but something you like, you guys probably haven't seen it, watch this movie.
Okay. So we're definitely not saying introductory level um horror
No.
on this one.
So
Uh,
yeah. Well, actually, no. Let's do both. Let's do an
ooh,
entry level one, and just do the one you think that horror fans should see.
ooh. Right, I'm going to do that one first. So the horror fans should see, and I'm telling you now, I genuinely this is my favorite horror film of all time. So this is what I was alluding to earlier. It is The Skin I Live In. So famous Spanish filmmaker Pedro Almodovar, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, was venturing into horror for a movie. Thanks, Kelly. And literally, he was like, it's got Antonio Banderas in it. And if you've seen like Eyes Without a Face, the kind of mask,
Yeah.
the central kind of image, it mirrored that. There was it kind of has elements of that. And I watched this on a Sunday morning. It was a day off from work. I sat there and the sun was shining on the room, and I've never been more terrified in my life. And as I get older, and let's just say because I don't want to spoil it because there are some big reveals in this story. Um, as I get older and the world changes as well, would be the best way of kind of putting that. This film becomes more and more relevant. It is fantastic. I don't hear anybody talking about it. I can understand if people don't like it because the first hour is like a drama, like a really solid mystery drama. And then the second half is where everything kind of goes. But I really recommend people watch that because for me, it dealt with something I worry about, which is my identity, how I am, who I am, and sorry, and yeah, it was just the way that film impacted me, phenomenal, phenomenal, and entry level. Hmm.
See, it's tricky because you're like, do you go for something kind of kiddish, kind of like a Beetlejuice, or do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean the thing, because it depends on the person, but I think something like, and I know you'll appreciate this pick, is something like Elvira, where it's horror, it's comedy, and it actually has like monsters, and it's not it it has. If ever I'm trying to introduce someone to something like that, I never go like full off extreme, but I always try and tiptoe. So it's like, well, who do you like as an actor? Try and recommend something like that. But with if we're going general basis, I would say something like Elvira would be great because it's not too far out where it's going to push people away. It's not too reserved where it's people aren't going to get it. That it's it's a nice warm, funny movie, and I think it also goes to some weird places with like monsters and creatures, and you go, okay, right, so you've tried that aspect. I think it's an all rounder. It's a good all rounder.
Yeah.
But
Now,
what are your
one
picks? I need to hear yours. I need to hear yours.
Now, the entry level one is hard for me because I actually put myself on the spot with that because that wasn't originally the question. I was just like, oh yeah, actually, let's add that on. But it's a Tobin Bell film that I found on Shudder. It was actually the first Shudder original I watched. Called now I can never pronounce it correctly, but Bezelzebeth. I think I may have
Yeah,
mentioned it to you before. Yeah. Have you seen it?
I have seen that one. Yeah,
Yes. So Tobin Bell playing a, would you say retired exorcist? Because he
I
doesn't
think
work for the church
that's
anymore. Yeah. So people are going nuts looking for this little boy. And I can't really spoil it. I feel like it's a movie. The less you know about it, probably the better it is
mm,
going into it. You know what I mean?
yeah,
But just to know, if you gotta read subtitles for the first 30 minutes. Just be fine with that. It's Spanish. It's easy. But the opening scene for that, it's probably the reason why I was kind of like, what the hell is this movie? Like, it's just that was a full on opening scene for it.
yeah,
But yeah, if anyone's interested in watching it, it is on Shutter. I ended up buying it on Blu-ray just because I'm an idiot. I could just watch it for free. But I'm like, I liked it that much. I wanted to actually own it because I don't know. Shutter could disappear. They could take it off. Maybe it's not original. Maybe they
mm,
just got it and they just put their name on it. But I don't know. Sometimes when you get certain actors, now I do like Tobin Bell just in general, but sometimes when you get certain actors, I feel like the story quality isn't always there.
yeah,
This was a really great story, and it was something I didn't expect anything that was going to happen when get to second act was going to happen, and it
yeah,
was just a really good film. Pretty much anytime someone goes, "I just got shuddered. What do you want to watch?" It's always that straight away.
yeah,
It's the first thing that always pops into my head. More people need to see it. I think it's a great film. But yeah, I really feel like the less that they know about it, the better they will be
yeah.
going into it.
No,
Now,
good
entry
choice on
level.
that one.
Would entry level actually
And
be Beetlejuice?
even even worse, I probably took your pick in Elvira because I know
Uh,
you love old
yeah,
Elvira.
I don't know. I don't know many
Mm,
people who know who she is, so I don't know if they'd appreciate it as much as they probably should have, being that it's her. Because
yeah.
I first saw her when I was 5. But when I was growing up, not many people liked horror movies. They wanted to watch like Three Ninjas and stuff like that.
Ah,
Where I'm
gotcha.
kind of like, well, I want to watch Beetlejuice kind of thing. So Beetlejuice is probably my entry level one. It's proper Tim Burton.
Yeah,
There's originality. It's got Michael Keaton. I mean, come on.
yeah,
At work, one of my last jobs, you could actually have like a little like this on this program we had like a little profile thing with all information, all our policies and stuff. You had a little profile for yourself, and you have like a quote for like your about section, and it was almost his seen the X's 167 times quote. In the end,
yeah,
it ended up being Mrs. Doubtfire quote saying I was a hip old granny and I can hip hop, bebop, dance slow drop, but it was almost that particular part because people would have gone like, "Oh, you attended Juilliard," and they would have just got more ridiculous. But yeah, probably Beetlejuice. We're actually selling
yeah.
Beetlejuice shirts at work, so I need to buy one. But yeah,
Oh,
yeah, proper Tim Burton Beetlejuice.
yeah. That's like a great Halloween movie as well. That's one I need to do, obviously this time of year.
And one that people seem to kind of forget about. I don't hear many people talking about it these days for Tim Burton, but Sleepy Hollow. I haven't really
Yeah,
had anyone talk
yeah,
about that for a very long time, and it's a real shame. That was a fantastic adaptation
mhm,
for it.
yeah, yeah. I'm with you. I haven't seen that film for so long, so I've put that in my list for this year because I was like, I can't go another. I'll probably, to be fair, when we finish this, I'm probably going to watch it. So,
Oh, I'm gonna watch it tomorrow. I'll watch it after work. Um,
oh, yeah.
so what would be your favorite decade for horror?
Now this is an easy one. It's the 80s for me. It's the 80s.
Same.
Like, yeah, it's like the 90s just got so meta and full of itself, I think. And it impacted the 2000s, where the 2000s were kind of became extremely glossy. So you got 90s, which became glossy and very
Yeah.
meta, and then um, and then you get the kind of 2000s, like they're just super glossy, and then it's a lot of them are the American remakes and everything of like international horror movies. And 2010s, you kind of get the A24 stuff, which not for me. I think if you love an A24 horror movie, brilliant. I always go, I don't think a lot of them are horrors. I think a lot of them
Yeah,
have horror elements, but as an actual horror movie, and I do enjoy like the 60s, 70s UK stuff.
like
But
the Hammer horror
realistically,
one.
yeah, like Hammer Horror, Blood on Satan's Claw, Wicker Man, a lot of like we were getting into a lot of like the pagan kind of and kind of folk horror kind of stories. But
Yeah,
and then I also enjoy like Universal, the 30s, 40s, 50s. But yeah, it's got to be the 80s. Like I mean, Technicolor, splatter movies. You get you get all the horror icons we know, and then you just get so inventive. Even the remakes are amazing from that era, where you get the Blob, you get the Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing, sorry, and then you
yeah,
get David Cronenberg's The Fly. I mean, anyone who ever says like you can't remake a movie, the first thing they always go is, yeah, you can't remake a movie. Oh, but except from like The Fly thing, and and you're like, yeah, but that's why I think remakes are a great idea, because you've taken two different creatives, they've come together, they've readapted material, and they've gone, here you are. And and then we look at kind of other remakes from that era, and you just like later on, like the Thing prequel slash remake, and you just think CGI, don't do that. You could have done practical effects. And I would have, and I know Blumhouse is looking to remake it again, and I'm like, I'm down for that, as long as you've got someone who wants to do practical effects, because you need to make this thing tangible because it's an
yeah.
alien, but then you also need someone who's looking at it from the right perspective, is how can we approach this story with a really good modern angle. But anyway,
Yeah.
tangent. I'm worse than a bloody roadway. I am, but yeah.
No, but yeah, definitely, it's definitely 80s for me. Granted, with the 70s, you still had things like The Exorcist, and that's when we got Michael Myers and everything. And then Sean S. Cunningham was trying to replicate that by making Jason in the 80s. But
Mm,
you found that when it came to the 80s, because they were trying to do things more cheap, their effects seemed so much better. Like when it comes to Nightmare on Elm Street, yes, mentioning it again, but it's just the idea of having Freddy like push against the wall above Nancy.
yeah.
So effective with the shadowing and all the lighting they had for that. When they did it in the remake, I was like, oh,
Oh,
just leave it. But
yeah.
what they saw as shortcuts by let's do some visual effects made things so much more impactful.
Yeah.
And there was just that more freedom, especially when the special effects were becoming more affordable and just more accessible. Just more freedom just to be stupid with stuff. I mean, look how great the Blob was.
Yeah.
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 So
Like
yeah,
classic. Like I mean
they took more
that.
chances. There was more silliness with things like critters and ghoulies and stuff like that.
Mm,
And you weren't seeing those kind of creature features that much earlier, just because they just didn't have the ways of making them.
even though I can't watch them, Gremlins. I mean, you look at the technical aspects of Gremlins, like wow, amazing. Yeah, that's a whole different story about Gremlins. Like, I don't hate Gremlins,
You watched
but
it at a
yeah,
wrong age, or
no, no. Okay.
you
I can
don't have to
finally do
say if
this.
you don't want to. Like
Oh no, no,
seriously.
no, no. I don't mind, but it's basically that is the only thing I've ever encountered in my life. The actual design of the green Gremlins that actually makes me want to throw up and makes my skin
Oh,
crawl.
like the
I
texture.
genuinely, yeah, and the look of them, they actually repulse me to the point I can't watch the movies anymore. Um, so
Wow.
something's happened in my brain. Yeah, something's happened in my brain where I can't. I can't even look at them as a fun puppet. I actually take them as a real creature, and they scare the shit out of me. Oh.
Oh,
There we go.
oh,
There we
children
go.
broken. Children
There's one.
broken.
There's one. But and then the second film is even worse because when they anthropomorphize it, we
Yeah,
basically get the lady gremlin repulses me so much I can't look at the screen because it's the red lips and it's just that kind of look. But then I hate spiders. There's a gremlin spider and I like bugs and things like that. And then when you get the really smart talking gremlin, that's it. That's what I'm running out the room. Like they, as I said, my brain just clicked one year, and I looked at an image of a gremlin, and I just was done. I had to walk away. I just put the phone down. I went away. I was like,
I'm surprised you didn't mention the veggie one. I thought that was going to be one that got you as well because like things were just popping up on its face.
it's been a while since I've seen
Been a
them,
while.
obviously,
Yeah.
and but yeah, it's like no offense to them, they're great movies. Like I love Joe
Well, it
Dante,
just
and I
speaks
wished
to
I could.
how well the visual effects were if you actually thought that they
Yeah,
looked that real. So good
yeah,
work to the visual effects guy.
yeah, absolutely. Oh, but no, I'm glad. Like yeah, and it's like again, like you love the 80s, and I think for us it seemed to be that wild time, like Fright Night, where you can just do anything, even Lost Boys, and films like
Yeah.
we've talked about, American Werewolf, and it was just, if you haven't seen it, there's a documentary. Um, Thanks, Dana. Yeah, she said, so we get it. Don't mention Gremlins to Richard. Thank you. Yeah, and what was it? It was there's a thing called the Frankenstein Complex Creature Designers. I recommend it. Like it talks about all those guys and Steve Johnson, who he worked on so many great of the movies we've talked about, and all these guys talk about all the makeup effects of the 80s and how they were like rock stars and stuff, and really recommend that one to you.
Is it streaming on anything?
I don't know. I don't know about streaming, but unless it's Arrow? No, no, it wouldn't be Arrow. I don't know, because over here it's a Studio Canal release, so I don't know they've got their own kind of streaming app. But yeah, if you can see it, because sometimes YouTube shows movies for free, so it could be
Yeah.
on there,
What was it
um,
called again?
or uh, Frankenstein Complex Creature Designers. But I'll send it to you afterwards. Yeah.
Awesome.
Um, yeah, I'll make sure I do that. But yeah, so, you bringing up makeup effects people, I just like, yeah, got to.
Oh, I had to mention like makeup effects. Like we didn't even mention Tom Savini, who's like the
No.
master of it all. Come on.
Oh, have you seen Maniac? That head
Yeah.
explosion in, oh my goodness. I love that. I love that so much because I remember watching that film for the first time, and then I see that and I'm like, okay, Tom Savini's brought the A game. Oh.
Now I actually don't have any more questions. That was a fair few I went through.
Oh yeah, yeah, because you said we weren't sure if we were going to get through all of them, and
Yeah,
yeah,
I
we're
actually didn't
nearly
think we
at
were going
two.
to get through them all.
I was going to
I
say, yeah,
was
we
the last
we
one I was thinking of is maybe like what would be like your favorite like adaptation from book to film. But the only other one I can
okay,
think of.
okay. No, 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 you're all right because I've got a question from Rob here. You've got that, and then
Yeah,
I've got a question I'd love to ask you, but and we'll
yeah,
see how we go. But adaptation from book to film, I struggle with reading in the sense that I find it hard to get into like sometimes an author's voice. So I I'm very particular about reading, and it's something I am pushing myself to do more of because I am at the moment I'm currently a vegetable. I watch so many bloody movies, and I feel like I want to try and kind of expand that range a little bit more. But something that's based off of pre-existing material, and I can't go Dracula. Oh, talking of that, Interview with a Vampire. Interview with a Vampire.
Oh yes,
Now, I've
very
never read
much.
any of the Ant Rice stuff, but that movie is just gorgeous.
It is.
Gorgeous.
It's done so well. My one, because it's actually my favorite book of his too. I might actually say Pet Cemetery. Not
Oh,
the new one that they released a couple of years ago because I nah. But yeah, the original one with
yeah,
Fred Gwynn playing Judd.
yeah,
Sorry, Judd. I love it. It was so good.
yeah.
Yeah,
No,
yeah. It was. There's something about Stephen King 80s cheese which I love even more than just regular 80s cheese. But
Maximum Overdrive. I'm sorry. Like,
yeah,
yeah,
but there's so many iconic images from that film. It's like Gage and the truck and everything like that. But um, there's one little bit now. I've done a TikTok about this where I did two in the series of you know, a moment in this movie we need to talk about more, and one of them was Pet Cemetery, and it's showing the main character rolling out of bed and he hits his head on his bedside table and full on like ricochets his head off it.
yeah, yeah. Yes,
That
yes.
bit always just sticks with me because it's just like, oh, oh, that actually really did hurt kind of thing. It's that, I love it so much. And I was so disappointed with the remake because they took Pascal out and there was no Zelda. And I feel like when they try and remake Stephen King now, they take things from the originals that they feel we don't need it, but it loses something when they add something new to it for some strange
Yeah,
reason. Like the same thing I kind of felt with the It remakes as well. I do enjoy them. And
yeah.
obviously when it came to the 90s miniseries, there was very limited to what they could do with television and also just at that time. But Stephen King remakes are missing something these days. And I
Yeah.
don't know why, but it's just happening, which is a real shame. But I am looking forward to seeing the new one, Bloodline. Apparently, it's
Oh,
unnecessary, but I'm quite
yeah.
curious to see what they've done with it because it's supposed to be, I think, Judd when he's a child, or no, when he's a teenager. I
Ooh,
think,
okay.
I think it is. Yeah,
Yeah, because I
I think
haven't
it's
heard
supposed to
too
be the
much about
story of the boy who got originally buried at the pet cemetery
it.
from the first one.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Okay. Ooh. I've heard nothing about it, and then out of nowhere it got announced that it was going to be released. So, but yeah, I'm interested in that. Like, what, like I love. I'm going to be quite brutally honest here. I love Andy's It Chapter Two, and I think it's so much like It Chapter One is a film. As I've watched it more and more, I love it less and less. Whereas It Chapter Two, I think I've only seen it once, maybe twice, but I love that version. But I agree with you. I think the only problem with the original miniseries is that part two, and I know that they have had problem. They did have problems adapting that second half with the adults. There's a great Pennywise story of it documentary. That's really good. If you haven't, yes, that is really
I
good. Well
haven't, but
worth
I will.
watch. Yeah, it's really good. And I loved It Chapter Two, but my problems with the remakes of it is you have an amazing actor playing Pennywise and you CGI over the top of him. You shouldn't have done like that. That was for me sacrilege because you've got the great makeup. He can do all these great things with his eyes, and then you're CGing on top of that. It was overkill.
Yeah,
It Chapter Two lost me with the flashbacks with the kids a little bit, but the stuff with the adults I thought was fantastic, and then they nailed obviously the last kind of few moments in the cave as a group for me. But
hmm
I did want to. But we have
yeah.
had a
I
couple
just
of questions. Oh,
yeah.
sorry. No, 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 no. That's all right. No, no, no.
No,
I'm interrupting you again.
no. It's a slight delay, and also I'm known for cutting people off, and I'm trying to work on it. So it's me as well. But I feel like just now, just because CGI is so accessible that it's just getting used for the sake of it. when
Mm.
it never really adds anything to stuff now. I remember watching like Clone Wars, no, Attack of the Clones for the first time. I was just like, oh god, nah, this is too much. It was nah, I just
Yeah.
couldn't do it. But yeah, it's just we really need to go back to just our regular basic special effects. That's why most of the time I like watching like lower budget horror movies because they are going back to that and it just works so much better. Just because you have the money to use it doesn't mean you have to use it. Like, did we need a 3 hour King Kong? No. Just because you couldn't make a 3 hour movie, Peter, doesn't mean you had to make a 3 hour movie.
Oh, so you don't like Peter's the King Kong?
It we didn't really need an hour to get there, an hour on the island and an hour after the island. It was a bit too long.
I'm
Did you not?
sorry. I love
Did
it.
you enjoy it?
I love it. Oh, I no, I love it. I loved it. He could have had 2 hours on the boat there.
It's just
Sorry,
like,
no,
yeah,
it's
visually
yeah.
it was stunning, like to look at with some of the
Mm,
CGI they did use, but I'm just like, oh, it's just, did it need to go for
mm,
this long? And not that I can't like pay attention. It's just that sometimes I just feel like it just doesn't need to be. Like some stories don't require that time, and
oh
sometimes don't
yeah,
require the money put into it. Like if you've seen Australia, the Nicole Kidman Hugh Jackman movie, that hmm
yeah.
I'm not a I'm not a fan of Baz Luhrmann. And it was too simple a story to have all the CGI and stuff that they used.
Mm,
They could have used it all when it came to you know, bombing Darwin, but you didn't need it. You have
yeah,
such a beautiful landscape and you wanted to use CGI with that, you just leave it as it is.
yeah, yeah. No, and that's the thing.
King
It's
Kong, yeah, no,
my
Kong's got Skull Island though.
yeah.
So I'm just reading
With
comments.
Australia. No. Read away. Because as I say, like I've had a couple, but I was just going to quickly just add to that where, for me, the problem like with Australia is he's telling 4 or 5 different movies at once. He hasn't got that cohesive vision. It's like you've got a love story, war movie, western. I'm like, dude, each one would have been its own great movie, but you've crammed too much into 2.5 hours and nothing gets kind of play on that one. So
Exactly. And as I said, it already was a beautiful landscape. You didn't need to put CGI into it.
no,
It was
no.
just so stupid, and I really regret paying to go see that at the movies. At least now
That's
I can
one of
go,
the
oh,
very few.
that's a Netflix movie, that's a Stan movie, that's this movie. It's just nah.
That
It's
is one
just
of the. Oh, sorry.
no. It's just that's just no.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of him, and it just kind of really, yeah, really kind of like put the nail in the coffin. Like, yeah, definitely not, because I haven't even seen Elvis, and I think seeing his name about
Mm,
80 times on his own movie poster was enough for me to go, oh god.
yeah. I mean, the thing with Elvis is it's called Elvis, but it's not about Elvis, and
Yeah,
it's a weird movie in that respect. And I think he did a good job creatively behind it, but I felt something just was like if it was called like Elvis and Tom, or the Colonel Parker, sorry, or something like that, it would have signaled a better transition to what that film is. But it's Colonel Parker's story in that film.
having said that, you're making me think of the movie
Mm.
Hitchcock. Yes, it's
Ooh,
about making Psycho, but why wasn't that just called Hitchcock and Alma, or just called Alma? Because I feel like she took up about 55 to 60% of the film. I wanted to
yeah.
know
No, that's
about
good.
his battle with the censor. I really didn't care about the suspected love affair they thought she may have had, even though she didn't. I wanted to
Yeah.
know about Psycho. I wanted to know about Alfred. But it was all, I felt like the majority of it was about her. And I was like, well, just call it Alma. Why'd you call it Hitchcock kind of thing?
Oh
Because
no,
I
that
would
is
have
a good
enjoyed it
one.
a lot more if they actually focused on the film more than they actually did focusing on her. Not to say Helen Mirren didn't do a great job, but it's just it strayed too much from what it was really supposed to be.
Yeah. And I have a question here from Rob for you.
Hmm.
It says, what films, if they were made in the 80s, would make good horrors? So, like either films from the 80s, I would imagine, or even modern day films. Like, I'd love, yeah, like shoot some films across.
Oh, Jesus.
I know. Him with them questions, honestly. Yeah, modern day or any era, really. Because I've got one. I think Mannequin is the greatest horror movie never made.
Oh
You know I'm not wrong. You know
my
I'm
God. I
not wrong.
know. Oh God, I haven't seen that in years. Is that behind me? I think it is.
Yeah.
There's,
Oh my God. I
I'm
think
in
mine's
genres here.
behind me as well. Yeah,
I'm
mine's
in,
behind me as well. One side.
yeah. Oh, hold on, hold on. There it is. There it is.
Oh.
It's a UK release as well because I went nuts. Um, when our Australian dollar was buying better than the American dollar, I went nuts buying it. There you go. I went nuts on Amazon UK before we got in Australia.
Oh, brilliant. Oh, oh. No,
It's a good
I
film
love
as
the.
well. I can actually see because now I'm thinking of I've seen people do like mock trailers where they've turned like Home Alone into a horror movie or turned Mary Poppins into a
Yeah.
horror movie, and I'm like, what? Oh my God,
Oh, he's just said Peter Pan as a horror movie. Could do. That's a good shout. That's a good shout, Rob.
that's a good one. Now I'm looking at my movies and I'm just like, I've got too many to potentially pick one. No, seriously, I've got all of this behind me, and then there's the Blu-rays and the TV series
Yeah.
on this side. Like, there's, oh my God. I don't know, making Red Dawn maybe into a horror movie, make it a bit more,
Ooh, okay.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
maybe, I don't know. That's a
Yeah,
tough
yeah.
one. What the
Because then
hell, Rob?
yeah. I know, I know. I have to deal with this guy all the time. He keeps sending me all these bloody questions to do and that, and I'm like, it's
Someone
fantastic.
wrote
Yeah,
Herbie
he's.
Goes Bananas. Nate,
Yeah.
that's the Lionel Woodley reference, and I appreciate it.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Who's Herbie?
Oh,
Is he some psychopath or something?
yeah.
Milo and
I
Otis.
don't know if I don't know if you've seen it, but I'd love to see Chuck Norris's Sidekicks as a horror movie because the ending to that film is just one of the creepiest things I've ever seen, and it already hints to being a great like horror movie. So like Chuck Norris has helped this kid out, and then out of nowhere, he there's this newspaper that's been handed out throughout the movie, and then it's left on a park bench, and then there's this young girl in a wheelchair. As she rolls up, she picks the newspaper, and then you kind of get a presence of Chuck Norris. So I'm like, you've got this weird stranger going around teaching kids how to beat people up. I'm like, there's definitely a horror movie there somewhere.
Completely stupid idea because you mentioned that. What was I thinking of the kid from Dumb and Dumber who they sold the dead bird to?
Yeah,
What if he found out he had a dead bird and went after him?
yeah, yeah.
I don't know why that popped into my head because it's just like Harry, I took care of it. But
Yeah, it's just
that
like
has to be one
pretty
of my
birdie,
favorite
pretty
comedies. Like
birdie.
I love it so much, and it still makes me laugh to
Yeah.
this day. Dumb and Dumber.
Oh, brilliant.
Oh God.
Okay, okay. I'll give you an easier question now. I'll give you an easier
Yeah.
question because there is something I have been wanting to ask you. Where did your love of horror come from?
Basically, once a week we'd go down to the video shop good old movie land, and we'd always just rent movies. And there was, for some reason, there was always a copy of Poltergeist 3 in the house. And obviously, my parents, they let me watch stuff like Beetlejuice. And I remember I moved into a house before I turned 7 and The Lost Boys was on. And I knew I'd already seen it. So my parents will let me watch some stuff. But I don't, I don't know. I'm not sure what the actual movie was that started it. But there was always horror movies in the house. I don't
Yeah,
know
yeah.
why Poltergeist. I think because my brother saw it at the wrong age and people used to say, they're back to scare him sometimes. But there was always just a horror movie around. Like, and there was Ghostbusters, and watching Ghostbusters, I wanted to be a Ghostbuster. I always wanted to get a copy of Tobin's Spirit Guide, which you can get your hands on. I actually want to get one.
Mm,
And I've just always liked just scarier stuff. And this is probably why when I was 5 and I first saw Elvira, I was like, I was the only sibling that had darker hair because I got a different mum from my older siblings. So they're all blonde, and I had brown hair. And I was like, wait, she gets to have dark hair in like horror movies. And I remember like trying to like pose myself like I was Elvira, like every time I saw her on screen. But I don't know. I think it was because horror movies were a late night thing as well.
mm,
So it was kind of like being sneaky, staying up past your bedtime, trying to watch a horror movie because they were
yeah,
always late at night.
yeah.
It would be like I was a teenage vampire. Creep Show was one that I
Oh,
absolutely
yeah,
loved. My parents I remember the first time I watched it, my parents were like, "You gotta go to bed. It's too late." But I'm like, "But I want to see what happens." It was they creep up on you, the guy with the bugs,
yeah, yeah,
and yeah. So I do remember I, I was allowed to watch them for some reason. I don't know. My parents just let me watch them, but it was Nightmare on Elm Street they were really kind of iffy about, and I was petrified of Freddy until I was 12. So maybe they were right
yeah,
with that one. But yeah, they were always there. Even though my dad would say you like some pretty sick stuff, and I'm like, well, you started this. You brought them in the house, especially with
yeah,
Child's Play. There was always, I always remember the cover of Poltergeist 3 and the cover of Child's Play 2, Chucky with the scissors and the Jack in the Box. That one was always in the house as
yeah.
well. I don't know how many times you rented it, but yeah,
Yeah.
that one it was just always around. So
No,
yeah,
no, no, because
started with 80s, and you can blame my parents.
no, yeah, I can do the same, but because I've talked to you all these years, and that's never come up. So I just thought, oh, we're doing something horror related, and because I know your love for horror is just, you've got so much love for it, and I always just wondered like where that came from. And no, thank you.
No,
Oh,
it's okay.
no, it's
It,
great.
it wasn't
Yeah.
until the last few years I've actually truly embraced it. Like when I was in high school, I was
Mm,
kind of standing out enough being like the fat kid at school. So I was like, I can't like horror movies as well there because I wanted to blend. I didn't want to be liked. I was like, just tell people she's all right, leave her alone, kind of thing. But
yeah,
I don't know. I went to Los Angeles, and having horror stuff, people kind of celebrated it. Like if I had like a
yeah,
horror backpack, people go like, "Oh, your backpack's so cool." I never got that here. So now I'm kind of like, stuff everyone. I'm gonna like what I like, and if you don't like it, that's your own problem.
yeah,
And obviously being older, having my own money, I've got access to see more stuff that I couldn't see when I was a kid. And
yeah.
yeah,
And buying way more stuff than you could as a kid. Yeah.
I haven't bought anything for a while. I've been buying more books, but yeah, there's a lot.
Uh-huh.
There's a lot.
No, 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 it's all good. Because that's the thing. It's like, yeah, for me, it's like I think I mentioned like it was that Bram Stoker's Dracula coffin VHS that my dad had. So it was like that was really cool, with the book in it. Then it was like for me, it was Aliens, which weirdly has become my least favorite of that series. But
Because it's so
um,
active.
I think for me it's mainly because it's as I get older, it's like that's just a James Cameron action movie, and I didn't like the idea that he was trying to force the family unit onto Ripley, if you get me. Like the way
Yeah.
he stages like Newton Hicks coming together quite a lot. Um, I'm gonna be quite controversial. I'm glad that Alien 3 went the way it went. Um, I love them as characters, Newton Hicks, but for that kind of movie, it again, I like the if you think of Alien, she's very like Ripley is very androgynous in that, coveralls, not overtly feminine, and that's where
Yeah.
James Cameron, you know, I feel tries to. And look, I'm no expert. I'm a straight white guy from fucking England. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to, force any agendas, but that's my kind of thing, and that's why I like Alien 3. You kind of bring the androgyny and then morally complex character, and then obviously with the fourth one, I like the what they did with that. But yeah, just uh,
It's
yeah, like with
interesting with
horror.
Alien 3 going so androgynous because people say that Aliens is like the perfect example of like the feminine or the heroess journey or the heroine's
Mm,
journey. That's heroine's journey. My God, I
yeah,
couldn't think of the word.
yeah,
Yeah. So to go from that to go to yeah,
yeah,
quite interesting.
yeah, yeah. You're doing complete like, and that's why I love that franchise because it's like it's a never-ending, evolving just cube. You can never quite pigeonhole it, even though it's very similar, especially stylistically. Even then, it's still not because each director brings flourishes that are different.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, like for me, horror has been a massive part of my life as well. And yeah, I just remember my dad was like, "Yeah, be open to it, Rich. Be open to it. Open to film." And he'll hear what I've picked up, and he's like, "Why the fuck are you, why are you buying this?" And I always remember the I don't know, I don't think I've told this that there was two films that he was like. I remember the first time I told him I was going to watch Hellraiser, he was like, "Oh my God." He's like, "You mean the guy with the pins in the face?" I was like, "Yeah, I can't wait." He's like, "Oh, me and your mum couldn't get 5 minutes into that one." I was like, whatever, and but the big one was me and him had a big kind of fight over The Exorcist. So I was definitely double figures at that point. And he thanks guys for the gifting and everything. And yeah, he was just like, um, he was like, I don't want you watching it, Rich. And he was at that time when it first came out theatrically, and he heard a story of people unaliving themselves because they'd seen the movie. So he was
Yeah.
very, very cautious, yeah, very cautious. But I managed to persuade him one day, and I actually watched it on VHS. One of the last VHS tapes I kind of watched. And it was like, I always remember he was just like, look, keep your door open. I, we're here, and just remember it's a movie. And I remember watching that film, and it surprised me in the best way, like in the fact that it was just such a beautiful drama, and the ending to that film, I just wanted to cry. I thought it was magnificent, and I told him, I said I thought it was one of the most beautiful films I've ever seen. He was like, okay, but also like, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm glad you enjoyed it, but it was, yeah, it struck me as just a complete work of art. Whereas I think, it kind of got that reputation because it was so good. It really did its job. And
Yeah.
I've been lucky enough now to actually see that theatrically. And I mean, I love that movie.
Are you planning on seeing the new one?
I am. Whether or not I get to see that theatrically, that's another thing because it's like I've just come off of a whirlwind week, and I want to kind of chill out, and I want to watch some movies. Like, it's been a whirlwind week at work, but I'd love to, but um, I know there's like Five Guys at Freddy's, but are you excited for the new Exorcist or?
I wasn't that excited when I heard that, but I heard the announcement that they were making it.
Mm,
When it comes to things that aren't original with Blumhouse, I find it to be very hit and miss. Like I was a fan of
mm.
Fantasy Island,
Yeah, yeah,
and I
yeah.
I, I haven't really enjoyed the Halloween films. Like I haven't even watch Halloween Ends, and
Yeah.
I don't know. I was just really worried that they just weren't going to capture what they were wanting to capture, just because they were going to go with CGI, just because there's money and they can't help it sometimes. But then I saw the trailer and I thought, nah, I don't know if I will. Like, I'll probably watch it on Netflix, but I don't think I'll see it at the movies. And it's
No.
already got like I think it was like a 5.9 in IMDb, and I'm like, well, it's only going to drop. But then I'm
Yeah,
hearing
yeah,
some people who are big horror aficionados who think it's actually a good movie. So obviously, I'll reserve judgment for when I see it. But there's nothing
yeah,
about it that's really luring me in, to be honest.
yeah. I mean, for me, I love the creative team behind Halloween, and they're doing this. I will warn you, if you didn't like Halloween and Halloween Kills, Halloween Ends might not be your bag. So if you can watch it on a streaming service or something, I would advise that. But yeah, I agree with you. I think, and I've had somebody say like Blumhouse is very throw everything out there and see what sticks, and it's kind of true, but that's what I like about them. If you think like A24 is the classy version of that, they really throw great, like, well, they throw varied kind of artistic director stylings at a wall, and I think Blumhouse is the commercial version of that. And I think both valid, because I know people who love Fantasy Island and love Truth or Dare or any of their kind of properties, whereas I'm very mixed. It depends on the people. But yeah, like for me, I just I, I'm I'm down. Like, if you're going to revitalize a property like Exorcist, and trust me, I mean, I've got all five. That franchise is far from perfect. Like, that franchise is all over the place. Um, but if someone's willing to do it and take a creative risk with it, and I think a lot of the negative backlash has been people who got burnt by the Halloween films. Um, and that's not to say, it's a vendetta. I think once they knew it was David Gordon Green, Danny McBride, and obviously Blumhouse tackling it, and they didn't like Halloween. I think you kind of know if you're going to go into this one, from personal taste, if you get me, you
Yeah,
know,
because
and
because
where, oh, sorry, I
no,
was just
no,
going to
go on,
quickly
go
say,
on.
like, yeah, no, no, you're right. I was just going to quickly say, like, whereas I enjoyed that, I'm, um, I would rather, as I liked Halloween, what they did with Halloween, sorry, I'm down for whatever they're doing with Exorcist, because can't be worse than like Exorcist 2 and Exorcist the Beginning.
But
I don't care what anyone says, though. Yeah.
I don't feel for me that Blumhouse
Mm,
is really like a draw card. Like, it's not a case of me saying, oh, it's one of their movies. I'll go see it, because their original stuff that they've done has been really, really great. And granted,
mm,
I feel like I was just listening to this on my mate's podcast on the Real Ramblers, and they were talking about how like Sinister and Insidious is their films, and so is Creep. And
mm.
I didn't even realize that it actually was, but well, Sinister, yes, but like Black Phone, that's an adaptation. That's one of theirs, isn't it? Black Phone.
Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, about to
Yeah,
say,
Scott
like, people
Derrickson. Yeah, yeah.
mentioned did not like it be right, but yeah,
No,
I actually quite enjoy it. I know a few people who didn't like it, but I actually thought that was a really good adaptation. But
yeah,
I feel like, well, then again, there was only a book, so not many people. There's no other, a lot of people will watch movies more than they'll read books, so there's not, I don't know what I'm trying to say.
no, you're all right. You take your
It's,
time.
it's, it's,
Yeah.
it's how do I say this? I don't think I can say it. I think my train of thought just disappeared because it's like 1 in the morning. Not to make you feel bad, I'm saying like, yeah, it's getting late. Um,
No, no, you're fine.
I don't know, because I don't know anyone who had read Black Book, Black Book.
Black
I saw
phone.
a Black Book meme on my phone before. I don't know anyone who had actually like read the story Black Phone, but I know people who have seen Halloween and have already discussed it, because there's the Rob Zombie ones and now these reboots and everything like that. So
Yeah, yeah,
it's kind of as close as you can get to original with Blumhouse these days.
yeah. because it's also, yeah, it's like not really established IP, and then it's not like at their kind of like Halloween, Five Nights at Freddy's, like 15 to 30 million dollars. It's not a big
Yeah.
budget, and they're not looking at it as a franchise. It's like it's its own singular thing. Yeah, I get you,
But
and it's
also, I
great.
think they could even stick with just doing a lot more horror comedies, like the Happy Death Day movies. They were fun
Yes, yeah,
and
yeah.
totally killer. I actually do want to see that. Apparently, it's like Scream meets Back to the Future.
Oh, you'll love it. You will love it. It is fantastic. I
I went looking
genuinely
for
had
it
a great
yesterday
time
on
with that.
Prime. I went looking for it yesterday on Prime, but I couldn't see it unless I just didn't dig enough for it. But see, like that, something like that, yes, because I know it's going to be fun. Freaky, that was fun.
Yeah,
But when it comes to their serious horror, especially if it's something that already has a gigantic fan base, I feel like they're just falling. Like Megan, people were saying, "Oh, it was stupid." Yeah, I watched it. It was silly, but I still had fun with it. But
yeah,
I don't know, Fantasy Islands just, I don't
yeah.
know,
It
something like
was.
that. I just did not enjoy.
I don't mean to be, disrespectful, but I've noticed with Lucy Hale, she's someone that does very particular teeny kind of horror movies and rom-coms and stuff, and I've noticed that not my cup of tea. Whenever I've noticed a film that they do, not for me. But that's the thing as well. Once you kind of notice actors doing things, like because she did Truth or Dare and Fantasy
Yep.
Island for Blumhouse. Just no, but to both. But oh, what was that? Oh, but I've got another question from Rob. I don't know if you want to hear this.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Are you sure? Because he asked a toughie, so.
Well, before you say that, I've got a question
Okay.
here for you,
Oh,
saying, "Do you like Benny Loves You?"
I haven't seen Benny Loves You. I think if I'm not mistaken, that's the teddy bear, the red kind of Elmo teddy bear. The
I think so.
Yeah, I've wanted to for so
Yeah, it
long.
is. Yep.
But yeah, yeah, I haven't seen that one, but I do need to. That is on my watch list. Thank you,
Alrighty,
whoever sent
Rob.
that in.
That was from Glenn.
Okay.
So yeah,
Oh,
Rob,
thank you, Glenn.
um, stump me again.
Yeah, he says, which horror film would be a better comedy?
Hmm. Why do you do this to me, mate?
Yeah,
Why
I
is he
know,
doing this?
I know.
What
I,
would be a
I, I
better
told you, I
comedy?
told you. Because I've definitely got Megan. I think Megan would make a great
Oh,
comedy. Just the idea
yeah.
of a dancing robot.
Because all I can think of is ages ago, well, when I was a kid, I was gonna do a parody of a Nightmare on Elm Street, but it was gonna be a Nightmare on Elmo Street. But then that was gonna be a nightmare for like copyright and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because it would have
I've,
been
I,
Tina with stuff and not having slashes in her dress, she'd have like feathers from like Big Bird in her bed.
I've had someone send in. Imagine Leslie Nielsen in Saw.
Okay, do you want to play a game? I don't know what went a little Goldblum a little bit, but
Yeah,
I thought
yeah,
Leslie Nielsen.
yeah. It's
You
just
should have
like,
mentioned him.
yeah, yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. Oh, surely you want to play a game. Don't call me Shirley.
So, oh no, well Megan's like a really good pick, obviously for that. But
Yeah.
what could you do?
So you just think of it like a birthday party gone wrong, and it's just like, a kid's birthday party, and then it just becomes chaos ensues in a comedy escapade. That's
Yeah,
that's your very quick pitch. That's like a very quick pitch.
yeah, but that's
But
your pick. I can't think of anything that's I'm not going to turn into like a parody from like Mel Brooks maker or something like that.
No, I mean, Evil Dead's a great one. You know, a bunch of friends go there. They go, oh, we're gonna unleash. They read from the book, and then
Nate
it
here said a
turns
Serbian
out,
film.
yeah, it turns out they're spicy demons. They're not just possessive demons. They're spicy demons, and there's some other kind of raw carnage that happens. So,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah, a Serbian film. My God.
oh my
Uh,
God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Oh, oh dear.
I don't really know. Nah, you've got me. You've got me, Rob. Stop
Yeah,
that.
Rob. Yeah, I know. It is terrible. He said Jaws is a comedy. I think you could. Bit of Benny Hill music.
Having said that, I remember watching Jaws: The Revenge with a friend, and because we were kind of like, how is it this shark can, telepathically know that the person it's after is going to a different freaking country, going into
Yeah.
waters it shouldn't be going into, and for some reason we kept on giving the shark like a Jamaican accent every time it came out of the water. Cancelled. But
Yeah.
yeah, we were just trying to get through it.
I mean, like in defense of you doing that accent, I mean, let's be real. Let's be real, people. Mario Van Peebles' accent isn't any better. That
He
that
was
is
in
that is.
Jamaica. He just happened to be in the water, and that was a shark's voice. That wasn't me.
Oh my days. Oh, thank you so much for questions. And while we've got people here, I did want to just quickly say thank you everyone for jumping on the live, whoever has. And honestly, um, I know I've had quite a few comments and stuff. I didn't mean to be rude or nothing, but no, appreciated.
No, thank you for everyone. I can't see anyone's count. I heard one point I had 4 people here. I'm guessing well
Yeah.
because you're only in the afternoon, so you'd have a lot more people and stuff like that. Nate here just asked what your thoughts were on Eden Lake.
Oh, okay, okay. Oh, now we're getting into it. Um, I, I, I would just also like to say, Nate, thank you. I would love to hear your thoughts as well, if you could send them through, because I will be really brief. I'm not a fan of Eden Lake, and that's not because it's a bad movie or anything. Um, I can quite imagine for you, you have in Australia films that um, how can I put them? Social horror movies, or you know,
Yes.
like Chopper and things like that. You get quite a
Yeah.
lot of Australian gang movies.
Yeah.
Well, we were going through a period of what we call yobbos, um, aggravated youths, just annoying everyone and just destroy, thinking you could walk down the high street and just see that. Like, why do I need to see it in a movie? Personally, I didn't realize it was Michael Fassbender at the time and Kelly Riley. I love them both. I think that might be one I need to go back to because I really appreciate them. But just seeing yobbos, um, like aggressive youths being absolute, no, not for me. That's because we get that all the time,
Advantage.
all the time. Yeah, I've had to silence myself, but yeah, it was. We get them all the time over here, or at least we did during the 2000s, and it was just when you see another movie like that, no.
Have you heard of Eshays here? They're kind of like our 12, 13-year-old, 14-year-old little gangsters. They sound like
No.
Eshay, brah. They sound like that. They think they own everything. Seriously, that's how they sound. And also, that wasn't Nate who said that. That was actually my mate Brody. And for some
Oh,
reason, it's
sorry,
saying his name is
Brody.
Nate. But no, no, no.
Oh,
That's not.
sorry,
That's
Brody.
but for some reason it's a different name on here. But yeah, you actually saying that the yobbos makes me think of. But then we call people yobbos here in Australia as well. There's yobbos, bogans, eshays.
Yeah,
Um,
we have chavs. Yeah, chavs.
yeah, the one that would be kind of like, on par with that one here would be the movie Snowtown, if you've seen that one.
I've heard of it. Yeah, I've heard of it. I haven't
That
seen it.
that one is not wholesome family viewing. That is a movie
Yeah,
I've only seen once, and I will
yeah,
probably never watch it again. Not because it's a bad film. It's very heavy with the subject matter.
mm,
The way things get filmed here, sometimes it's the film quality. We don't make things, as we both say, we don't make things glossy here. Things are very
yeah,
raw. Things are rough with some of the things that we do make here, and it was actually based on a real crime which
yeah.
happened in our lifetime. So we all know this. We're all aware of it. And there's a scene in there. It's a how do I say it without getting bent? Someone being hurt repeatedly scene.
Yeah.
And I even got to a part while I was watching it where I said, if you're gonna do it, just do it, because it was so rough to watch. And then one of the main characters actually screams it out. So it's a very hard hitting movie. So that's something you really need to kind of mentally prepare yourself for, because
Mm.
that is full of a lot of things that you just really don't get too much in film. A lot of like violent things you don't get too much, and just
Yeah,
very, very raw, very hard hitting, and
yeah.
it is definitely worth watching at least once.
Cool, cool.
Strained
I'll try.
cinematic realism, yes, it does.
Yeah, I'll try and stream that on Amazon because it's. I know the company that released it in the UK, so I can. They tend to have a good partnership with Amazon. So I'll try and like stream it if I can. Yeah, but because I'm not paying 20 quid for a Blu-ray just to then trade it in. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, trade it in. But no, like that. Like I think for because we seem to go through cycles as well. We had films like Nil by Mouth and um, what was it? It was Nil by Mouth, Tyrannosaur that dealt with domestic um, abuse. We had other films as well, and we tend to go through those cycles through our kitchen sink dramas and stuff. But yeah, like when you say that, you do get to a point where it is like, oh my God, it's another, it can get quite. That's why I love horror. That's why I love like science fiction and even westerns. It's that kind of more escapist
Yeah,
because, like you say, the way we filmed them, something like Mike Lee's film. I don't know if I better not. I better not even risk it. But Mike Lee made a film that is, yeah, it's got David Thewlis in it basically, and it's it's a good film, but it's so raw and honest. And again, you could just walk out onto your, street or whatever, and you can see those kind of things here. And it's like to then have that as part of your entertainment or part of your film watching. I think films like that worth a watch once, like you say, but sometimes, for me, I'm getting to that stage in my life where I want the fantasy,
yeah.
a little bit more,
Well, we've been on for 2.5 hours, so
Yes, no,
yeah. How would you feel
thank
about
you.
bringing an end to this at the moment?
No, 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 no. That's fine. Honestly, honestly, that's fine. But I would thank you so much. I know it's late, really late for you. So, um, no, it's been great.
Well, thank you to everyone who jumped on. I really appreciate everyone on my stream, everyone on Richard's stream, and hopefully we can do this again, maybe at a time where we can kind of bring the times a little bit, I don't know,
Mm,
a little bit earlier for
yeah,
you, a little bit earlier for me, and that way
yeah,
we
yeah,
actually get, and also, yeah, that way we can actually probably both get a good amount of people coming in at the same time. So
yeah,
that'll be
yeah,
great.
yeah, yeah.
And thank you for people who left questions, thank people who commented, and everyone else. Uh,
Yes, no,
yeah,
thank
I think it was a great
you.
first show.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the thing, because this is the thing is like as I think I've said before, but it's our first proper face-to-face conversation because we're
Yeah,
on opposite sides of the world, and then to have that, then with questions, and then in a TikTok live, it's been quite a. I definitely think we've found our groove now. So this
I
is
think so.
it's all good.
We got
You're
to
too
do
nice
these.
though.
We got to pick. We got to pick a subgenre. We got to pick one franchise and just stick with that for a show. Or even if we actually do go offline
Oh,
and do
yeah,
a podcast or something like that, do a couple of those.
yeah,
Perfect.
yeah,
I've already
yeah.
got some
I
topics
mean,
on for those as well.
I was going to say next one should be definitely like Nightmare on Elm Street. Go for it. Like either that or Scream. Like we go into them. You know, it's
Yep,
something you
definitely.
really love. I would love to hear you talk about franchises like a lot like that in depth. So yeah.
Well, I really appreciate you coming on and doing this for me because I know you said you had a hectic week at work, and hopefully
No,
this
no,
made things a little bit easier for you. It's
no. It honestly,
actually been a lot
no,
of fun. I'm really glad we did
no,
this.
no. Me too. It is. It's been like another big bucket list item crossed off. Got to talk to Yvonne, Shell. Honestly, yeah. Honestly, it's been an absolute pleasure. So thank you.
At least you know I'm real because everyone's liking that those AI photos I posted on my
Oh,
Instagram. I'm like, that's not even me. Everyone can say it's not me.
yeah. Don't worry. I've been talking to you for years, so I know what you sounded like. So as soon as I heard "all right" and the badum, yeah, because I
Dum
love the
dum
way you
dum
say yeah,
dum.
but it's yeah, it's but you go yeah. So
But
as soon as I
yeah, I
started
do.
hearing that, I'm like, yeah, she's real, she's
It's
real.
Dal.
And then me, it's the chin stroking.
It's
Yeah, me,
Yvonne.
it's the chin stroking now. But
Alrighty,
no,
so I will
yeah,
speak to you some other time. We will do another one of these at a
absolutely,
time at our convenience.
yes,
And I hope everyone else has a good day over there. Hope everyone here who's stayed up has a good night and has a good Sunday. Good seeing you,
yeah.
finally.
Yeah, no, it was good seeing you as well. Thank you for the horror chat, and everyone, thank you so much. Truly appreciate it. And goodbye.
Bye, everyone.